All right. Happy Friday, everybody. We are back with another veteran spotlight. I'm so excited right now. So excited right now. One, because this dude, what an amazing guy. We've got Eric from Geimer Gaming on here. And he's a fucking vet. Yeah, he's a Marine Corps vet too. So I'm excited to sit, talk, learn some stuff from him, and it should be a good time. Plus, he's such a great guy and stuff. And we'll have all of his links and everything into the bio, of his bio in the links. Oh man, in down below on YouTube. Oh boy, you think I would have done this maybe once or twice before, but nah, bruv. Uh, but anyways, let's jump into it. I'm gonna go ahead and so I have it. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna kick this off. Like I said, we got Eric here, and move this up. And let's get into it. Eric, my man, how's it going? Thanks for being on.
What's going on, Bob?
Yeah, it's
What's up,
good,
Chad?
good,
What's up,
good time.
everybody?
Yeah, I'm excited, super excited. Just a quick little intro. One about myself. I was the last one on the spotlight. EOP Gaming was in the Marine Corps. My name is Danny. Okay. For those of you who your first time at one of these veteran spotlights, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna sit here and we're gonna sit and talk to Eric and see what he did while he was in the beautiful Corps, and kind of just have a nice time and get to know our fellow veterans. So, with that being said, how are you doing today? How are you doing?
Oh man, it's been a rough day.
Oh
Lots going
boy.
on this week, but
Yeah,
we're getting through it, getting ready for the holiday.
no, absolutely. Holidays are a crazy time of year. Crazy time of year. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you taking time out of your schedule for to come and hang out, especially during the crazy holiday time.
yeah, we've been talking about doing this for a minute here, Bob. And
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
mind if I call you Danny?
Call me whatever you want to. Doesn't matter.
All right, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this for a while. I ran
Mhm.
into your channel early on as I started streaming earlier
Absolutely.
this year,
Yeah.
and I've always been interested, in, definitely for your message and everything that you do. So I really appreciate you having me on here, and
Of
I think that
course.
this is going to be a great time tonight.
Yeah. Of
Um,
course. Of course.
for anybody who hasn't met me or seen what I do, I'm one half of Geimer Gaming. My duo is my wife, and we're a husband and wife duo. We got this in this. I started the channel and was getting into streaming, and my wife, I told her over and over again, I'm like, you should stream too, because you could be super successful, and she didn't believe me, refused to believe me, and I finally got her to fill in for me one night because I was under the weather,
Yeah.
and it's all she wrote.
Killed
So
it.
now we
Absolutely.
take turns doing different kinds of content, but definitely started off as a veteran streamer, and I mean I've
Absolutely.
been playing video games my whole life, and this was just the next
The next step.
logical step.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Katie's great. I played Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 on the channel because I saw her play it, and I was like, I just saw the way she acted during stuff, and I was like, I missed that. Like that general, like that raw first time I've played it, like experience. Like, I got to get back into it, and I played, I played 1 and 2 back to back, and it's a good time. Great. Forgot how great the
Her,
games were.
her emotions are so pure and raw
Absolutely.
when she plays things,
100%.
and she could have seen it before,
Yeah.
and she's gonna lose it all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I've been to movies with her where
Yeah.
she's seen the movie before me,
Yeah.
and then like it's my first time seeing it, and there'll be some character that like dies, and I'll be like, "No way, what the hell?" And she's like crying, and I'm like, "There's no way, like how are we gonna go?" And then they bring the character back to life, and I'm like, "Why were you crying?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
knew the whole time, and it doesn't matter." I'm like, "Oh jeez."
In the moment.
Like you bring up my anxiety over things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
we all feel for Katie and her emotions. That's why she's so great.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. 100%. Uh it's definitely a good you guys have a good thing going on. Super jealous. Relationship goals for sure. 100%. Uh, but yeah, like stuff like that like not to get too sidetracked, I went and saw Passion of the Christ. There were people like bawling their eyes out in there, and I'm like, "Oh, didn't you read the book? Like, if you read the book, like all of this stuff happened, you know."
Oh man.
uh, so it's
Oh,
great.
oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, the book was better.
Yeah. Eh, like I said, we're not going to get into religion or politics because that's a
Oh,
whole different podcast.
yep.
But yeah.
So, but
Oh, go ahead.
we're all here tonight to hear my veteran story, right? Everybody wants
Absolutely,
to,
100%.
because everybody knows that I'm a Marine Corps vet. That anybody's been on my channel, but people have heard bits and pieces of my story.
Mhm.
But I figure we jump on here, do this, and I'll really dig in and give you guys my full experience. And if there are people on the ropes about whether or not they want to join, or yeah, it's like you go off of my like I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, pretty much down to a T, and it'll go to show you that everybody's experience is different.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, your experience may vary.
Absolutely. Now, just for those of you who don't know, if it's your first time here, we don't mean to be rude or anything, but this is all about Eric. Like, I'm not going to pay attention to chat. It's like the alerts are turned off, all that type of stuff. It's just all about him and his story here. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm being rude or ignoring them or stuff. It's just we're here to listen to a story and that type of stuff. We are going to have a Q&A at the end, so if you've got questions, get a little notepad. Like I got one here right by my desk. Get a little notepad, write your question down, type it in your phone or whatever, and we'll get back to it. And I just don't want anybody to feel like they're being ignored. So I see you guys in chat. You guys are great. I appreciate all the enthusiasm and stuff, but I just
The
don't want.
Geimer gang is here in force already.
Yeah, I just don't want people to think, like, this guy's a jerk. Like he doesn't even pay attention to chat. Like, no, 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 it's not. That's not what it is. It's just, it's yeah, absolutely, it's Eric time. So that's exactly what we're doing. So just to get that out of the way, I'm not gonna repeat myself, but those of you who are in here right now, you're the real ones. Sure. All right.
Yeah.
If you're not in here, you're probably still real, just busy with life. Anyways, so let's start this off. Uh, what made you join the military, and what made you choose the Marine Corps? Words are
Okay.
heard for sure.
So I was always kind of like one of those kids that was I was younger. I was kind of fascinated with the military, but never really knew too much.
Mhm.
Um, but I was one of those kids that I was in school when the towers fell. I remember exactly where I was. I was in band class, first period of the day, and one of the kids had a radio, like an old school, like cassette AM FM radio,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Hey, there's some crazy stuff going on." And the teacher brought in the TV and flipped on just because we could jack it to the wall and just pull regular like local news.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Yeah, the towers are, yeah, the towers have been hit."
Yeah.
And I remember going through the rest of the day. And the weirdest thing out of everything, the only thing I got canceled for me that day was soccer practice.
Yeah.
Like they just decided not to hold soccer practice, and I'm just like, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
But
Makes
yeah,
makes
the towers fell, and I distinctly remember thinking that like I'm not old enough now, but if I was old enough, I would be going and fighting this. And lo and behold, years later, I graduate. And see, I'm
sense.
not like most. See, I didn't join right away. My parents convinced me to at least try college first. My father worked for the university at the time, and I got basically college for free. All we had to do is pay the taxes
Yeah.
and for books. So I said, okay, I'll do this. I even had recruiters talking to me at that time, and the recruiters like, oh, you got college for free right now? Get out of
Yeah.
here! Just like get out of here.
Mhm.
And so I went to college for a few years, and I did not do well. I was not. I was not prepared at the time
Mhm.
to undertake. I couldn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Couldn't appreciate it. Didn't take it seriously.
Mhm.
Um. and I just finally I burned out, and I was like, "Oh, I'll do something different." I was a musician at the time. I was playing music, and with friends and stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I'll go to audio engineering school, and I'll get certified as an audio engineer. Go work in a studio."
Mhm.
So I did that over a summer. Got a certification. Came back. Was trying to apply to several studios in the area. I'm from Ohio, Akron area, and I mean that's where I grew up. And there's a couple of different studios in that area, and every single one of them that I applied to was like, yeah, what kind of clientele are you going to bring to us? And I'm like,
Bring to
I'm
you? What?
applying, I'm applying to be an engineer, not to be a, like they expected me to be like, hey, I need to come use your studio,
Yeah.
and you pay me to be an engineer, but I've got to bring in people to actually to actually
Yeah, clientele.
record
Yeah.
and get the business. I'm like, that's no what? So, really, really quickly, that spiraled,
Yeah.
and at that point, it was like, I'm working manual labor jobs, doing, like, temp work,
Mhm.
um, it was nuts. It was nuts. I actually right before I got in, I actually got a really good job with a family member, making bulk batch pizza dough, and I really enjoyed that job,
Yeah.
but it was one of those things where I was like, "I can't stay here and do this."
Yeah.
I've gotta pull the eject I gotta pull the eject and
Mhm.
get the hell out of here, and
Yeah.
people from Ohio will tell you that if you don't get the hell out of Ohio, you are stuck.
No.
There's
The only
just,
the only thing I know about Ohio is it's for lovers.
it's Virginia.
Now, there's a song called "Ohio is for Lovers." Aw, aw, yo, that's adorable.
That says right. Never run or you'll never leave.
Yeah.
Ohio is just like that. Low standards of living,
Yeah.
cost of rent, it's all low, and
Straightforward.
and there's no transition from that
Mhm.
lower middle class to the upper middle class,
Yeah.
and you just kind of get just stuck.
Yeah.
So I just said, screw it, I'm out completely, dropped everything,
Mhm.
and I went to a recruiter, and this is where the Marine Corps stuff really gets going. The
Yeah.
first thing off the bat, I show up, and I'm in pretty decent shape at that time. I've been playing soccer. I've been off of soccer for maybe a year and a half. Um, and they're like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "I want a reconnaissance contract. I want to go do Marine recon."
Yeah.
At that point, that was my research. I'm like, I want to go do high speed, low drag stuff, and they gave it to me. They gave me the recon contract,
Mhm.
and I depped in, because delayed entry program,
Yeah.
because they couldn't ship me off right away, and I wanted to make some ends meet and make sure I was prepped to go to boot camp, because we all know how your mentality is around that time. It's like it's daunting,
Yeah. Absolutely.
hugely daunting, because you have no idea what you're about to get yourself into.
100%. Yeah.
So I depped in for, I think I was in depth for about 6 months.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, just about 5 months, because I depped in September officially, right close to my birthday, when I turned 21.
Yeah.
So I was a bit older getting in, and then I was getting ready to leave, and they, um, sorry, I just got distracted for a minute. They hit me
Squirrel.
up. They hit me up overnight. Yeah, they hit me up overnight and were like, "Hey, we want you to leave next Tuesday." And it's like a Friday night. We're like, "You're gonna leave on Tuesday, but by the way, it's a reservist contract." And I was like, "Hell no." I was like, "Hell no."
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna get shipped out to come right back here.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it. And they're like,
Absolutely.
"All right, all right." They're like, "All right, all right. But just be warned, you might lose that reconnaissance contract." And I was like, "It doesn't matter, because it even is reservist, like reconnaissance. I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
Not taking it as a reservist." So I went back in, and I talked to my parents about it, and my parents were like, "Hey, you should do something with your computer background." In high school, I'd done Cisco networking. That's what I did in college. I did a lot. I have a big IT background combined with my audio engineering. I was basically a low level master of just electronics. If I
Yeah.
plugged it in, I could probably blow it up and put it back together.
Yeah.
So I went in the recruiter and was like, "Hey, um, what are we gonna do?" And he comes to me. I'm like, "I want this reconnaissance contract," and he's like, "Look," he's like, "with your scores, because I went and I'd already been to MEPS.
Yeah.
They're like, look, with your scores, I can give you any contract we have here.
Yeah.
The guys that are sitting out there in the lobby, I have to give them stuff like this reconnaissance contract because it's either that or infantry, or they have to go in open contract, if you go in open contract, that's a shit show, and you and I know that. It's like
Boy.
needs of the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I got wrestled into that.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
I did one of those things where the recruiter was like, "I need you to leave early." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, cool, I got you, man." They didn't tell me anything, so after I finished infantry school, they're like, "You're going to Fort Lee, Virginia." I said, "Wait, that's not where I'm supposed to go." Like, "Well, you went open contract, right?" I said, "No, no, I didn't." And they were like, "Well, your only options are right now is to go there, or you could stay here, do infantry school." I said, "Hello, Virginia."
yeah. so I so I was like, all right, so what do you have for me in terms of um contracts?
Yeah,
Because I'm like, I want a guaranteed job, period. Like,
yeah.
and I was like, you got like you got Marine Intel? They're like, no. And they're like, hey, look, we got this one command and control electrician. And I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. What's that job? They're like,
Mhm.
oh, you'll be working on like radar equipment on an airfield somewhere. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, whatever.
Sure.
Electric, yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So cool. Sign the papers. I ship out. And lo and behold, I ship out in early April, which and I went to Paris Island.
Oh,
So
oh,
it was a
rough.
so for those that you guys that you don't know, there's always going to be an argument between East Coast and West Coast Marines. We call them
100%.
Hollywood Marines. They call it, I don't even know what they call it. It's just like they make fun of us for not having mountains and stuff like that to climb up. And I totally agree. We don't have mountains to climb up. We have to basically just swim through Paris Island due to the humidity.
Yeah.
But we can both agree on is that sand fleas suck,
Anyway,
especially when you are trying to do things like stand in the position of attention for the next 15 minutes. And if you move, somebody is going to like absolutely upend you.
discipline.
And I remember one of the first things they said to us, like we got chow and we're standing out front. We're trying to get an issue of equipment, and we're standing there, and they're just eating us alive.
Mhm.
Like people are like twitching and getting bit, and the drill instructor goes, "You had your breakfast. Now you let them have theirs."
Yeah,
And
that's
I
great.
was like, "Oh, geez, what have I got myself into?"
That's
But
awesome.
we get through Indoc. I got stuck with Third Battalion, the old Third Battalion, out at the old grinder, so we were away from the head shed, no country.
Now,
And
when did you ship out to boot camp? What year is this now? April. You said.
2010,
Oh, so, how? Yo, how old are you?
I am 33 right now.
Okay. All right. I just
Most
want
people, wait, would you think I was a little bit younger?
no. Well, because like when you were talking about the towers going down, I was in high school when that happened. Uh, and so I was like, oh, maybe we're like right around the same age.
I was in
So
middle school.
yeah, I was in high school. So I was like, oh, like when you were like, oh, we're in school, I was like, oh, okay, maybe we're in the same age. Uh,
Only a
but
couple years.
yeah, only a couple years. It just makes a difference when you join the military and it's just a couple years. Like
Yeah.
I'd already done 2 tours in Iraq when you joined in
Hmm.
2010. So
Yep.
I was like, okay, okay, now we're on the
Yeah.
same page. Now they're
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little more of a timeline.
Yeah, definitely. So 2010,
Yeah,
I'm in. We get through the boot. We go through boot camp. I'd like, and I'll say this for everybody right at the bat, because I'll try to be real with everybody.
100%.
My first week of boot camp, I tried to quit. I tried to quit
100%.
because I was like, I got so in over my head. I'm just like, I went to my senior and was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah.
I was like, I know there's no way. And he kicked all the rest of the hats out of the head shed, out of the house. Just had me in there, leveled with me, and he was like, "Look, I know it's crazy right now.
Yeah.
He's like, but this whole group here, everybody here, there's a journey we're about to all take. And he's like, and I
Sure
want you to,
is.
and he says, and I want you to be there.
Yeah.
He's like, you're a little bit older than some of these guys. He's like, I want you to be there for this. And but I'll level with you. Come back to me in 24 hours, and if you still want to quit, I'll let you. And after the first 24 hours went by, and that's when we got our first mail call. We got all the letters from home from
Yeah.
everybody, and like Katie and I have been together since before the Marine Corps, several
Oh.
years. So I got first letters from her and letters from my family and everything, and it just gave me the push that I needed. And I was like, all right, and at that point I was like, all right, I'm in. Let's do this. Like, I don't care at this point. Let's just do it. It's gonna suck, but I'm gonna deal with it, and we're gonna push.
Yeah.
And within a week, I made squad leader and just stuck in that position the whole time. Kind of gray man, but it was
Yeah.
a gray man in a decent position.
There you go. Yeah.
Got all the way through there. Um, Went home on leave, the typical leave. Went back to MCT right down there. Oh, and by the way, Paris Island during that time frame, horrendous, absolutely horrendous. I
Mhm.
didn't realize I had a heat injury
Oh.
till I got out.
Yeah.
We did our BWT, our basic warrior training, to that day movement course.
Yeah.
We heat casualtied 30 people in 20 minutes
Jeez.
from the start. We admin black flagged Paris Island for 24 hours. We had 3 recruits completely gone. Rhabdomyolysis so intense they kicked them straight out. Military, medical retirement right there. You're out. You're done.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was rough. It was really rough. I got heat cramps really bad that day, but the rest of us, we made it through it. And then like MCT, almost just as bad. So hot, so ridiculously hot. And I was like, okay, finally I get to do my next thing. And then I got my orders
Mhm.
came through, and they're like, hey, you're going out to 29 Palms, radio operator. And I was like, what do you mean radio operator?
Sucks to suck.
Like, they were telling everybody, and they're like, I'm like, I was told I'm a command and control electrician.
Mhm.
He's like, yeah, you're on a command and control electrician, a DB option. I was like,
Yeah.
what the hell does that mean? And what they'll do is they'll hit you with an option. So what an option is that it says, I will take any job in one or two fields.
Yeah.
So I got hit with DB option command and control electrician, which meant I will take any job that you give me in communications
Yeah.
or in utilities.
In that field.
And at that time, you'll even know we were losing radio operators at the cyclic.
Yeah.
They were getting shot down range, and they were getting
Absolutely.
blown up, and they were getting the hell out.
Yeah. Well, it's not an easy job either.
Oh, it's a brutal job.
Absolutely.
Because people, yeah, you don't just do radio.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
do
Yeah.
whatever the unit does, and
And
you handle radios.
yeah, I was a cook. I get it.
Yep. So you do whatever they do. Oh, and you're responsible for cooking.
Yeah. Up before everybody else. Go to bed after everybody else.
Oh yeah. Oh, you got to sleep?
Yeah. I still haven't slept yet, and it's been shit. I got out like I got out the
Hair
end of
past the
2000.
freckle.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. I'm still trying to catch up on sleep.
Yeah. So did you do how many years did you do?
5.
You
I
did
was in
5?
a car accident, and I destroyed the left side of my body. I tore a ligament in my ankle, one in my knee. I broke 3 ribs. I blew the L1 disc in my back. I broke my left collarbone, and I had to get 3 staples in the side of my head to close my head.
Jeez.
And I carried 2 people out of the vehicle after it happened, which caused more damage because, you know,
Yeah.
adrenaline. I was
Oh yeah.
free and they weren't. So,
Yep.
yeah,
So of course this is just the beginning of the shenanigans that happened in my career.
yeah,
So getting told, "Hey, you're gonna go be a radio operator,"
yeah,
and at that point, the combat instructor we had, um, great dude,
mhm,
but absolutely shell shocked.
yeah,
He was a radio operator in Phantom, or in Fallujah, in Phantom Fury, pushed in, kicked in doors. That dude was rattled,
yeah.
and
Been there.
I love the man to death, and I hope he's still doing well. But I hope he never had to go back out because that dude saw some stuff that absolutely, like, it was funny because we always had like, hey, we got our running groups, right?
Yeah,
So we had the turtles, the uh the in betweens, and you had the rabbits,
mhm,
and he ran the rabbits, and I always tried to back off. I was never a strong runner.
yeah,
He was like, "Nope, you're gonna be a radio operator. You're with me." And it actually ended up working out because I found out that even though he took off like an absolute missile, and you had to keep up with him, I
yeah,
mean, he took off. You only had to last about 7 to 10 minutes because that's right about the time that he gassed completely out, and it was usually from him having he basically drank every night.
yeah.
And if you just had to, if you survive the first 7 minutes, you're going to be in the woods somewhere doing calisthenics while he's overheating his guts out.
Yeah,
And it ended up being a lot better for us. But we made it through all that and got orders out to 29 Palms to do radio operator school.
yeah,
Got out there, the typical comm school, especially BMAT and Bravo Company out there doing radios. One second. You okay?
sure.
Can I do like this echo?
I have no idea.
Okay, cool. So I'm just as lost as you are.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry about that.
You're good, man.
Yeah, Katie's dealing with her own troubleshooting.
Uh-oh.
But
Yeah. Figure it out.
Bravo Company out there, they tell you that's where we do where there's CAX. They do the desert warfare training and stuff like
Yeah.
that
What
for
is
guys before they deploy.
for those who don't understand, what does CAC stand for? You know?
No, actually, I don't. I never went to CAX.
Okay. I don't either. It wasn't my field, so I just
It's
try to break some stuff down for people who don't know. I don't know either. I could look it. We'll look it up later.
yeah, it's like something acclimation center. Basically, they would push everybody out to 29 Palms because it's as close as
Yeah.
they could replicate to Afghanistan and Iraq.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's I went to Yuma, Arizona. Well, I went to 29 Palms as well, but I went to Yuma, Arizona for Afghanistan training. Uh, so I just can't. I don't remember what I did last week. So remembering some shit from like 10 years ago, like I don't remember what it stands for.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to look it up real quick because I
Yeah.
remember the acronym, but I can't remember what the actual the name.
Yeah. What it stands for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it had something to do with the fact that it was you're deploying to CENTCOM.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'm not a, usually somebody knows, like Dano is usually sneaks in here sometimes and answers questions, but I don't know. I'm not a encyclopedia.
yeah, neither am I for that stuff.
Yeah.
But so we went out there. We're doing, and it's really kind of crazy because like the second week of radio operator school, we know we're there for 3 months.
Yeah.
The second week we're in classes, they're like, "All right, we got orders for everybody." And then like a day before, they told everybody they're like, "Hey, what's your guys' preference?" They're like, "You can either go to Lejeune, Hawaii, or Okinawa."
Yeah.
And we're all like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Hawaii. I want to go Hawaii first choice, Lejeune second choice, Okinawa last choice."
Yeah.
And a lot of people did that, and it absolutely rattled most of. And it was funny because they're just like, this is just for the active duty guys, and there was like maybe 10 of us out of the whole class that was active duty. Everybody
Mhm.
else was reservists. You're just going home after this. Shut up, bunch of reservists.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, buddy. Um, but I remember they walked in and they're like, hey, these three individuals stand up. and I was one of the individuals they called up to stand up, and they looked at us. The guy, and it was somebody I didn't even know, and they were standing with our masks on, and he's like, they look at the three of us, they all looked at us, and were like, "Can y'all swim?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I can swim. I've been
Yeah.
swimming for a long time. I I can do the swimming.
Yeah.
I did two. I made it all the way to two in boot camp. So that's
Oh,
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. It's I shouldn't have. I was basically drowning. You know how you know how difficult it is.
Absolutely.
But
It is
um,
very hard.
they're like, good. You guys are going out to force reconnaissance in Okinawa. And
Oh.
I was the first one to say, I don't think it works like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, that's the orders. I'm like, reconnaissance company S6. They're like, no, your orders state force reconnaissance company third MEF. That's it. And then that's all we knew. All we knew. And one of the guys was messages like, "Yo, stop it! You're scared, Eric." And I was like, I'm kind of worried because this is definitely taking a right turn from where we thought we were going and what we were doing. And it's by the way, it's like they're like, oh, and you're going to Okinawa, and so in my head, I was like, oh, geez, I have all my affairs I have to get in order because I'm going out here, and
Yeah.
these are 2.5, 3 year orders. So I immediately I contacted my family, I contacted Katie, and we're just like, holy smokes, like
Yeah. You weren't
I
expecting it.
guess we'll I guess we'll do what we have to do, but this is going to be it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I thought for sure I was going to get out there, and it was I think November 7th of 2010 when I actually got out there,
Yeah.
went through my week of induction that they do out there where they have to tell you how to survive in Okinawa, and don't piss off the locals and local customs, and how to deal with the fact that you're not going to have a vehicle pretty much the entire time you're here.
Yeah.
You got to take the bus system. Good luck, and yeah. So we take the bus system. We get over there to over to Camp Schwab. Good old Camp Schwab, about as high north as you can get without being in the northern training area.
Yeah.
And we check in, and it's funny because we checked in, checked in the third reconnaissance, headed over to the battalion S6, which is for anybody that doesn't know S6. S6 is communications.
Mhm.
And if you have an MOS number, so mine was 0621, which is at the time was a field radio operator.
Mhm.
It's now a transmissions operator because a bunch of MOSs have fallen
They,
into each other.
yeah, they merged.
Yeah, but at the time it was field radio operator,
Mhm.
and we went over there and immediately got pulled in um by a couple of sergeants and a staff sergeant. And the corporal started grilling us. Totally the typical stuff. Just I mean, like, okay, what I expected.
Yeah.
One guy is like, they're asking us all these radio questions. They're like, what's the frequency range on a Prick 148? Da, 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 and I'm rattling it off because I have a mind like a steel trap for this dumb stuff. And even at one point, he's like, okay, can you explain wave theory? And I was like, oh, okay. So I grabbed a marker, started doing wave theory because I had an audio engineering background,
Yeah.
and the translation is really easy.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and they're like, well, crap, you know more than me. Okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And we're getting through this, and I'm starting to kind of make friends with these guys in our first day there. And the master sergeant in charge of the shop rolls in, sees the three of us, and goes, "Are you three these individuals?" And we're like, "Yeah." He's like, "You don't belong to us. Down the road." And we're like, "What?" So what we eventually found out is that third reconnaissance had gotten pissed off that Force Reconnaissance Company had been taking their TAD personnel, like they would get
Yeah.
radio operators to come over and hold the comm accounts while they deployed.
Mhm.
And those individuals holding those accounts were coming back lacking rifle quals, um, missing, PFT
Basic.
scores,
Yeah. Yeah.
CFTs, not being PME complete. And then they find out that these guys didn't even do anything on deployment. They
Yeah.
went over there to a shooting package and stood ammo guard the entire time. Once they got on ship, they got on ship's taxes and worked in the scullery the entire time.
Yeah.
And they were just basically the bitch boys for the recon platoon.
Yeah.
So the master sergeant got pissed off about it, called up the monitor, and said, "Hey, Force Company is standing up their own S6. They need a comm chief and radio operators.
Yeah.
So we got a comm chief directly out of the drill field." This guy didn't know dick.
Yeah.
He was a previous MUX operator,
Mhm.
so he dealt with like big multiplexing dishes.
Yeah.
Never dealt with radios. And the three of us being fresh PFCs, from the schoolhouse, and we showed up, and it was like we showed up, and they're like, "Hey, welcome to the unit. I'm glad you're not out of your alphas yet. Meet me on the beach."
Hmm.
Our first couple of days were pretty rough.
Yeah.
And it's a reconnaissance induction sort of thing, you know. And after all was said and done, we finally meet our comm chief, and we're sitting around, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll just clean this area," and we're like, "Well, what are we doing here? There's no, we didn't even have equipment.
Yeah.
We didn't have a vault to hold any of our ComSec. We
Yeah.
didn't have any equipment. We had nothing." And it was just like, this is a joke. It was like a giant publicity stunt
Yeah.
being pulled by 3rd Reconnaissance S6. And I'm one of the acts of this joke, and I'm just like, I'm not appreciating
Yeah.
this. Um but luckily things started to rattle out pretty quickly.
Mhm.
I immediately got dragged into the office, and they're like, "Eric, do you have a passport?" And I'm like, Yes, I have a blue passport."
Yeah.
My parents had got me a blue passport when I went to visit my grandfather in Canada.
Yeah.
So I and I actually had my passport with me, and they're
Oh.
like, "Good, good. You're going to Cobra Gold in January. Good luck." And I'm like,
Oh.
"What's that?" And they're like, and they literally sent me out on Cobra Gold in Thailand.
Mhm.
And I went on pre-ops and jump ops, and so I was in Thailand for like 2.5 months
Yeah.
straight. And the entire time, I was safety boat.
Mm.
My day consisted of waking up early as hell in the morning, prepping radios, throwing them in a backpack, throwing the backpack on, going downstairs, waking up our driver,
Yeah.
who was usually passed out from hook pipe snuff. This guy's nicotine out of his brain.
Yeah.
He would drive us over to the Thai EOD locker. We would usually wake up their guys. We would go load up a Zode, go drive it out into the bay, and we would just sit there, and I would do radio checks every half an hour with one of the recon guys that was set as a safety swimmer.
Mhm.
So 2 US personnel, like 8 to 10 Thai personnel, just sitting out on the water in boats, floating around, making radio
Radio
checks.
check. Yeah.
And that and that comm chief had the nerve to make my call sign rubber ducky for that exercise. Yep, I'm not
Oh.
even joking.
Yo.
Yep, it was
Epic.
on the paperwork.
That's
It was
epic
on
as
the
fuck.
paperwork. I was so mad, but he got his up and comings because he decided to, or he left.
Yeah.
He had already been to jump school, so they were sending him to free fall school. He
Yeah.
left that exercise early to go to free fall school, and he didn't sign any of the equipment over to me.
Mhm.
And at one point, I had an E7 come up to me and was like, "Hey, you're in charge of all this equipment, right?" I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Where's your paperwork?" And I was like, "I don't have any." And he's like, "So the guy left, didn't do an inventory with you, didn't sign the paperwork over to you,
Mhm.
and oh, by the way, you're an E3?" I'd managed to pin on Lance at that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "I'm gonna help you. We're gonna help you. You're gonna do all your inventory for all this stuff real quick. We're gonna see what we're missing. And then you're not gonna talk about this." because they ended up jerking him straight out of school,
Yeah,
ripping him back to the unit, and he got spun around and kicked out of the unit real fast.
yeah,
They buried him over in SOTG in a heartbeat because it's like, look, like you're the guy in charge, you're the account holder. You just left a bunch of CCI with a lance corporal,
yeah,
didn't sign it over.
yeah.
He's not
No,
responsible for it.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's millions of dollars worth of equipment that just like if somebody would have been like, "Oh, I want this," I mean, that's not on you.
Especially CCI. When you talk about CCI, it's not just like millions of dollars of equipment. It's, oh yeah, by the way, go to jail
Yeah,
because
absolutely. Yeah,
it holds cryptographic material.
yeah,
It's capable of it.
yeah.
The but I got back off that. I had a great time. Great time. Uh, got a wicked ass tan. Found out that if you get that was the first time I found out that if you get a sunburn, that the Marine Corps can definitely come after you if they feel like it for destruction of government property.
Yep.
They're
Destroying
like,
government.
look, they're like, don't do this again because there are people that will absolutely NJP you over it. And I'm like, that's
Yeah,
insane. They're like, it's stupid, but it's true. I'm like,
yeah.
okay. I learned how to drop fish,
Oh,
fishing for squid and octopus
that's what's
in
up.
the Gulf of Thailand. Did that a lot.
Yeah,
Dude, just a simple, stupid exercise, and I didn't do anything. But the entire time I was watching these jumpers, and I'm like, man, I want to go to jump school. And I knew the two guys that were with me, they went to jump school when I came here.
yeah,
So I was like, this is bullshit.
yeah.
I got back and ran a couple of PRTs, which is the preparatory PT test for jump school,
Yeah,
and passed it. I did a rifle qual, and I was out to jump school.
nice.
Went and did Benning, and this is uh, Benning. It to me that was Marine Corps Appreciation Month
Hmm.
because as bad as you think you have it in the Marine Corps, you get to go deal with a month of Army boots,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I
my God,
go
yeah,
ahead.
they're rough.
Yeah, I went to when I went to cook school, quartermaster school. It's got to be fancy. It was in. I was at Fort Lee in Virginia, and yeah, we were already. I was a PFC at the time. Because I graduated meritorious promotion from boot camp, and they're still technically students. So like, yeah, you guys are basically at the same part, but they have to be courteous to you because like they're students, and you're like you're a Marine in the fleet. Like
Yeah.
it's just so yeah, it's great being on an army base when you're not in the army, uh, because like they just treat you like they treat you on another level. It's a good time for
So,
sure.
so when I showed up, this is great. When I showed up, um, I'm in my uniform, just basic, utilities,
Yeah.
and I walk in and I'm like, hey, I'm Lance Corporal Geimer, reporting for jump school and for training. And the dude behind the boxes, behind the impromptu desk, snapped a parade rest, and he's like, "I corporal, yes corporal, all this corporal thing." And I was like, "No, it's Lance Corporal." He's like, and don't you don't have to stand at parade rest. He's like, "Oh, I'm respecting the rank." And I was like, "Stop."
All right, bet. Yeah.
I'm like, "What's your pay grade?" And he goes, E3 corporal. I'm like, I'm a lance corporal. That's an E3 in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
And you watched it immediately like click in his head, and he was like,
Yeah,
ah, well, shit.
we're the same. Yeah, we're the same, dude.
He's like, oh,
Chill.
this is bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, chill, man.
Yeah.
We were so I got in tight with a bunch of Air Force TAC Ps during jump school, and we were absolute terrors to all the cadre
Yeah.
because because they weren't absolutely positive on like haircut standards and stuff for the Air Force and everything.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Good old time.
That's great.
I made it through jump school, got back and immediately got kind of thrown to the wolves.
Yeah.
We got back out there to Okinawa after jump school, and the very first thing that happened to me is I get pulled aside. They're like, "Hey, be here in this office at like 1600. Go." And I showed up at the office. It's late in the day.
Yeah.
We'd already done all the other stuff we'd done for the day, and that's one thing about Okinawa that most people don't. I mean, I don't know if you had the pleasure of dealing with Okinawa, but there is no like home life for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Like you don't leave base, and there's staff NCOs and people who just are there all the time.
Yeah.
And so we get pulled in late, and it's this huge platoon. We got a full platoon in there. We have the whole head shed, and um the master guns of the unit is there, and people are not happy,
Yeah.
and he proceeds to chew everyone's ass.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm in here and I'm like, man, why am I getting yelled at? I have nothing to do with this. What the hell is going on? And for a while I didn't know what had gone on. All I know is that I'm just getting to participate in this ass chewing and get yelled at for stuff. But essentially they had gotten their command relieved.
Oh.
They
Oh.
were they were a they were a deployed unit on the Mu and had gotten their command relieved,
Whoa.
and not totally their fault. Not actually, I wouldn't even. And this is what it all boiled down to: wasn't their fault.
Yeah.
Their command had chosen to go against what they were being told. There was a command that came down that said no libo,
Yeah.
and their officer and platoon sergeant said libo.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when there was a libo incident or three,
Yeah.
and they said, "No, we're gonna NJP you guys," they're like, "Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
No, because you don't get to do that to us when, you went against the orders in the first place." So,
Hmm.
I got to get mixed up in this because
Yeah.
I was being brought in as one of the replacement guys.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can imagine how much fun that is. So not only do I get brought in as lowest man on the totem pole, as a lance corporal amongst a force reconnaissance platoon where everybody is a sergeant or above.
Yeah.
Um, I also and that was all three of us, but we were
Yeah.
also replacements to like good friends of theirs that were really getting screwed over
Yeah.
because it wasn't just like the command got kicked off. It's like the people that were also parts of the incidents they got kicked off too.
Yeah.
And that sucked. So I'm already in this really shitty situation where it's like I know you guys don't like me because of the fact that I'm a replacement.
Yeah.
Like we got to try to learn to get along.
Mhm. Absolutely.
And the very first thing they did was threw all three of us into a shooting package. Um, DA shooting package with force reconnaissance,
Yeah.
which is 6 weeks of of learning how to do dynamic assault on a shoot house.
Mhm.
So you start from um, 3 range weeks where you have week one's all pistol, week two is pistol and rifle, and week three is all quals. Or you have to qual with pistol by end of first week. You qual with rifle by the end of second week, and you have to do a combined qual by the end of the third week.
Mhm.
Weeks 4 through 6, you start working into the house. And I mean, we're not talking about going through the house with like blue barrels and stuff like that, where we're shooting paint rounds.
Yeah.
These are live ball and frange ammunition going in and shooting, and they slowly start
Work
ramping
your way
up.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, so at first it's like real linear. There's nothing in the rooms, but by the end of it, they bring in furniture. There starts becoming EOD play. We start having our dog handlers in there with us, and it just goes full bore. We have intel attachments that go in there, and they have TSE that they have to perform, and it just really ramps up into this culminating event to certify the 31st Mu as being SOC capable. and even though they're they're not a soft element, they are special operations capable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have the ability to do it.
Yeah, which is funny because the 31st Mu qualifies every 6 months,
Mhm.
but then every 6 months they swap all their personnel out.
Yeah.
So they stay qualified for all of about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they swap everybody out and then they redo it because the 31st Mu is a giant PAO stunt. You can literally find me on YouTube, and I'll have to push one of those videos to you at some point.
Absolutely.
You can't tell it's me right off the bat because I'm in balaclava and full DA rig, but
Yeah.
that's what I did. The two other individuals that were with me, those radio operators,
Mhm.
um, both failed the shooting course.
Wow.
One for a negligent discharge, and the other one didn't make qual.
It's-
Um,
yeah.
because I mean, like me, I'd never shot pistol before.
Yeah.
I was in the Boy Scouts. I shot rifle. I shot long gun. I was good for that.
Yeah.
I immediately dropped into like, hey, here's your first pistol you're ever gonna shoot. It's a Musoc 45. Have fun.
Yeah, good luck.
And luckily for me, it kind of came to me,
Yeah.
but not for the sake of not having put thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds through a gun.
Yeah.
Uh, so at that point, I am one of two O6s on that team. I've got myself as an E3 radio operator.
Mhm.
I'm attached to one of the teams as an ARTO. They wouldn't even put me as a straight up RTO. I'm the assistant
Yeah.
radio transmission operator, even though I'm the actual radio operator
Yeah.
because um because of all that. And the other is an E6 who is the comm chief for the platoon. Now to set the tone for everything with these guys, um, you and I both know, but for everybody else out there, Marine reconnaissance are jacks of all trades. They can do just about everything.
Well, they have to.
They, yep,
Yeah.
their entire job is to be the eyes and the ears of the ground forces commander and operate. So the difference between you have reconnaissance and then you've heard of like force reconnaissance or deep reconnaissance.
Mhm.
The main differences you'll run into is that a reconnaissance platoon or an amphibious reconnaissance platoon operates within the artillery fan. They operate within support of artillery fire. Deep reconnaissance operates beyond. And then force reconnaissance is usually the term they use when it is being used as a direct action force.
Yeah. Coming to get
Um,
you.
yeah. The thing that sucked for me because I showed up and they're like, here's the deal, bud.
Yeah.
You're a communicator. Guess what everybody here can do?
Yeah.
Communicate. Everybody here does radios.
Yeah.
They literally handed me one of their reconnaissance operator handbooks. Then they're like, there's what we learn about radio already. He's like, your entire job here is to be better at radio than any of us. And I took that to heart.
Yeah.
That was the absolute item that was like, okay, I have to be better than any of you. I don't have to run faster than you. I don't have to jump higher. I don't have to
Yeah.
shoot better. I just have to be able to be Johnny on the spot, answer that question, and know how to work that radio better than any of you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And God bless it if that equipment didn't fucking try me every damn day.
Yeah.
I had one team leader. I couldn't get his equipment working. Every time I get his equipment working, shit would break.
Yeah.
At one point he was using a set of Silinks, and he's like, shit broke, and I'm like, just take my set,
Yeah.
and which I had, it was working, and he
Yeah.
put it on, and shit broke. And I was just like, I can't even with you. I like,
Yeah.
I can't even do it with you because I even at that point, I had a comm chief with me who was right there next to me. I'm like, dude, I can't explain it. He's killed 2 radios and 2 headsets, and he's like, yeah, dude, I can't help you.
Yeah.
But that first team, shit really hit the fan. We were getting ready to go to Australia,
Mhm. Now
and
this is
that one
now how long is okay, so time frame wise, Okay, so you went to jump school and then you got put into this. You got put back in there. Like, what are we looking time frame between?
Okay.
Uh, like date wise, because you said uh you went to your unit. Okay, so it would have been so you went to boot camp April, graduated uh July ish, and
Hmm.
then MCT. We're looking at
August.
September, it's August September.
Then you had 3 months of radio operator school.
Yeah,
That put me into November. I arrived at the unit beginning in November,
yeah,
integrated early July or early January of 2011.
yeah.
I was in Thailand.
Okay,
By March 2011, I was at jump school.
okay,
April 2011, I was assigned to this first platoon.
okay. Awesome. Okay, cool. I just want to get a established timeline.
That platoon, the com chief got himself fired.
Yeah. Okay.
He mouthed off to headquarters about the whole situation that was going on,
Wow.
and you know how it's the fuck up move up thing.
Yeah.
They fired him off the team and promoted him to battalion com chief,
Wow.
and that left me as being the only '06 MOS on that entire platoon.
Yeah.
So when we got on, and I got pulled into the office like late at night. I got a call at like 8 o'clock in the evening, 2000,
Yeah.
and on my local cell, and they're like, "Get your ass over to the ISO right now." And I'm like, I'm on foot, right? And they're like, "Yep, but you start running." I'm like, "Okay, great," because it's like 2 miles
Yeah.
to get up to where the ISO is. So I get up there. I'm out of breath. It sucks. I'm like, it's a it's on a Saturday night,
Mhm.
and we're getting on ship the next day.
Yeah.
Like Sunday, we are all loading up on buses at the barracks, and we're going down to White Beach to load on to the Essex because we're gonna go steam to Australia and do this giant exercise.
Yeah.
So I get pulled in late at night, and they tell me they're like, "Hey, Comchi's been he's left the team,"
Yeah.
which means that you were the only '06 on this team. And I'm talking to my captain
Yeah.
and our staff sergeant, who is our platoon sergeant at that time. And I get told, "You have no turnover." He's like, "When we get on ship, you're going to have to account for and completely rebuild the com account." And
Wow.
he just messaged Garcia in my ass.
Yeah.
Literally messaged to Garcia, "I don't care how you get it done. Get it done, and I'm not going to jail." Which is always funny how that seems to come out of officers' mouths
Yeah.
whenever it comes to dealing with communications equipment.
Mhm. 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 Absolutely.
So, yeah, I get on ship the next day, and it just it sucked so bad.
Yeah.
It was horrendous, and I'm not even talking about just ship life. Ship life sucks already. It really
Absolutely.
does.
100%.
Um, our 2 parachute riggers got tapped out immediately to the scullery
Yeah.
and flag mess, and they were trying to tap me out to this stuff, but I straight up stopped them on that. I was like, "Look, I have communications account stuff that I have to do. You
Yeah.
can't put me on ship's taxes. There's no way."
Yeah.
So they bent there, but it took me about 2 weeks. I had to go get a piece of paper signed by the MEU commander. So I had to get a full bird colonel to sign a piece of paper
Mhm.
that said, "Hey, we understand that the billeted position that you are in is supposed to be held by an E6 or higher. However, we have full trust and confidence in you to be able to perform the duties assigned there here under as communications chief for this platoon." And I was just like,
Yeah.
"Yep." And I worked myself absolutely ragged, rebuilding all of the paperwork that's associated, accounting for all the items, drawing crypto, doing everything it was associated with being an account holder,
Yeah.
to actually have custody of that equipment. And then the ship broke down.
Oh. Yeah.
and then we took another 3 weeks for them to come out and tug us all the way back into Okinawa.
Yo.
Yeah, the next couple of months there were super rough amongst training. They flew us. We did jump ops in several different places. Lots of shoot training, lots of BS.
Yeah.
Um, that platoon was a really rough ride. I'm still not sure whether or not I believe that was whether it was a positive or a negative experience.
Yeah.
It
It's an
was
experience for sure.
really kind of felt like a trial by fire,
Mhm.
and I don't really keep in contact with any of those guys. I know I see him
Yeah.
I see him on social media. A lot of them are doing really well, but
Uh,
I leave that be as it is.
yeah. You get into some units where you just don't click with a lot of people, and like, yo, I've had units like that where I'm like, look, yo, I'm glad you're doing well. Just do it over there. You
Yeah,
do whatever you're doing away from me.
I've met some
Congratulations, it's
really good
great, but
people.
yeah,
I met
absolutely.
some really good people, but especially that first platoon, I was ready to get away from them when the time came.
Yeah.
And the time actually came right at the end where they were getting ready to rotate back.
Hmm.
They the company commander came to us and was like, "Hey," he's like, "I need a shooter and I need a team chief or a yeah, team leader
Hmm.
to roll over to the next platoon that's coming on board the 31st MEU."
Yeah.
And they're like, this is what we need. And here's what's going to happen. That platoon is going to do 4 months on this MEU. They're going to come off, spin up, pump to Afghanistan. And I was like, and one of the team leaders, a guy I highly respected, was like, I'll roll over.
Hmm.
And they're all looking at these guys, and these guys are like, no, I want off of this shit show because they've been on for a year.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I was like, and this is what told everything. And I was lucky they picked up on me when I
Hmm.
said this. I said, if I roll over to the next platoon, when do I become take on to that platoon? When do I fall under their roles and off of this platoon's roles? Like when am I not part of these guys anymore?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, it'd be kind of immediately. And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they really read, and luckily he read between the lines
Yeah.
and was like, okay. So they came back to me and they're like, listen, this is what's going to happen. You are immediately going to be under this new platoon. And when Christmas comes around, you're going to go on leave.
Hmm.
When Christmas leave is over, you're not going to come back here. You're going to go directly to free fall school. You're going to do free fall school. And then once you're done there, then you'll come back to us. This platoon will be in their first shooting package. You'll roll right in. You're already qualified. You'll
Yeah.
roll right in and do stuff with them. So that's what I did. And
Yeah.
I got my time to rest, refit, and actually do some really high speed training. That was probably my favorite school
Yeah.
I ever got the pleasure of doing. Because jump school is
Tedious.
jumping static line sucks.
Yeah.
People are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna jump out of dude." That's some World War II shit, and it's
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
But free
Absolutely.
fall is, I mean, you get qualified Class A skydiving license while you're doing
Yeah.
free fall school.
Absolutely.
So I came back. They're already in shooting package again. I roll right in. I make friends with a lot of the guys.
Hmm.
We have a pretty damn good time. And that's and we come up on 4 months in, and we're like, so what's going on with Afghanistan?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, that shit got canceled. You guys are on this for a full 12 months. And we're like, oh
Yeah. Oh boy. N-
no.
Now, how long was free fall school? How long was that?
Uh 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Pretty uh just pretty short and but pretty you learn a lot of shit real quickly.
So what's super interesting is the dichotomy that you'll run into between jump school and free fall school. In jump school, you spend 2 weeks learning how to fall. You learn how to
Yeah.
do a parachute landing fall. You're figuring out how to hit the ground, and in the very last week is when you actually jump.
Yeah.
In free fall school, your first jump is on Friday of the first week.
Yeah.
And it's not like a tandem jump. You are out that door solo with an instructor.
Yeah, bye, Felicia.
So
Yeah.
it's yeah. I freaked out my first jump. I did. I absolutely, because you're supposed to do. They want you to do a dive exit, right? So you're going to the ramp and you're diving out.
Yeah.
So it's like with the relative wind of the plane
Yeah.
coming by, it feels like you're jumping belly first on a big sledding hill. That's what it. I mean, literally feels like a sledding hill of high speed air,
Yeah.
and you are kind of falling in that arc to eventually your belly down, falling towards the earth.
Hmm.
Well, I jumped out my first time. I try to extend, and then the adrenaline hits, and I freak out. So I tuck my feet in,
Uh-oh.
kind of like feet go almost go fetal position.
Yeah.
Well, the relative wind catches my feet and flips me.
Uh-oh.
So I do a perfect backflip, and then as I'm flipping, I'm like, "Oh God, arch, 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 relax, relax, relax," and I arch out and go dick to the earth. And you're like,
Yeah.
"Yeah," and then I started falling perfectly,
Yeah.
and I arched out of it, and everything's stabilizing out.
Hmm.
And then the instructor had told me, "Hey, I want you to turn and look at this one mountain
Yeah.
while you're falling, and that's all I want you to do. You're gonna get out. You're gonna look for that mountain. You're gonna turn, and you're gonna face that direction until it's time to pull your chute." I'm like, "Okay, I got this." Well, after my impromptu gainer, which I'd accidentally done, which on video looked perfect,
Yeah. It
he's like, "You did not intend to do this, did you?" I'm like, "No,
was a happy accident for sure.
happy accident."
Yeah.
But but then I'm over top the mountains, and I'm just like spinning in the air trying to like figure out like which mountain is it?
Yeah.
And he got me good because he literally wanted me just to do these controlled turns.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You were performing perfect controlled turns trying to figure out which mountain it was." He's like,
Yeah.
"You did exactly what I want you." I'm like, "Dude, you tricked the hell out of me."
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
I felt so stupid by this man afterwards. He tricked me several times over the entire time. Like he's like, "I'm gonna just do things to you," but free fall school was definitely a shitload of fun. I loved being able to say that I was a military free faller.
Yeah. Of
They learned how to make it shitty,
course.
like because just the amount of crap that they could pack up on you and make you jump with.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Well, it's like, yeah, you're free falling." It's like, well,
I know.
I was part of the jump team when I
Yeah.
got back,
Yeah.
and as being part of the jump team, every single jump that we did was what we refer to as a wall locker jump. Rifle, O2 bottle, ruck, helmet, mask,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And so every time I've got about a 120-pound ruck strapped to the front of me. I've got a rubber rifle strapped down my side. I've got an O2 bottle on the other side. I've got full helmet, mask, and everything.
Yeah.
And we didn't just jump for fun. Like we were like, "Hey, you will jump. You will stay in formation. When we get under parachute, you will stack up. We will ride into the drop zone as a team. When you hit the ground, you will perform actual operations. Unpack your ruck, swap into your green side gear for patrol,
Mhm.
get everything set until we call index. And at
Yeah.
that point, you can secure. So while everybody else is having fun, like landing all cool, we're like having to eat shit and BLF on the ground because I've got to stay low and pull my chute in and stay on the ground,
Yeah.
radio in and like stay completely flat in the grass and try to change everything. I'm
Yeah.
like, this sucks.
This sucks. It's not as cool as it was advertised.
No, it's not at all.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
I did a lot of good stuff with the guys. I only really ever did like one green side patrol.
Yeah.
Um, onto the island of Tinian. That was really cool. We that was one where we did a surface fin in. So I never went to dive school because dive school they didn't send radio operators to dive school.
Makes sense.
But we were yes and no. It was just a policy. Just a
Yeah.
policy they had because I already had a hard enough time with people getting dropped out of dive school
Yeah.
because the information is really tough. The
Yeah.
the coursework is.
Absolutely.
But did a reconnaissance mission with the guys, did a lot of training stuff, and
Yeah.
then but DA mission stuff,
Yeah.
I did a ton. Like just all the training stuff, and this is the thing that sucked about the 31st MU. is it was all a PAO stunt. They did everything so they could film it to create Marine Corps advertisement stuff.
Yeah.
Just recently, I got my clearance renewed with my job,
Mhm.
and we went down into a basement somewhere to get read on some stuff,
Yeah.
and they brought up a video where they were like they're simulating some stuff, and they brought up the video, and I about died
Yeah.
because it was a fucking video of me.
Yeah. That's
And
funny.
in this exercise, they're like, Marines are busy. This and it's all just like scenario driven stuff. But I was like, oh, dude, that's me right there. And I died. And they're like looking at me. They're like, what's so funny? And I'm like, that's me on the screen right there. And they're like, what? I'm
Yeah.
like, yep, 31st Mew
Yeah.
exercises. There I am. You can't really tell because I got a balaclava on, but I
Yeah.
know myself.
Funny.
We got through all of that and did a ton of just training stuff. Had a good time. Um, right towards the end, I had my first really bad injury.
Mhm.
Um, of course, your time in the Marine Corps will absolutely break your body down.
100%.
My ruck weight was always 20 to 30 pounds heavier. Um, I think my loadout at one time was it was actually, if you counted my personal radio, was three radios, Benelli, shotgun, M4, Musoc 45, and a sledgehammer. Those were my big ticket items that I had to have on my rig.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how heavy I was?
Absolutely.
But this jump, I'd been having a couple of jumps where I was getting a slow opening.
Mhm.
Just it would ruffle and I would fall for a while and I would open kind of low because the chute was taking forever to open.
Yeah.
So I got a hold of one of the parachute guys and was like, "Hey, please stand over top of me. Watch what I'm doing because when you have free fall chutes, you pack your own chute."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Stand over top of me. Make sure I'm not doing anything wrong."
Mhm.
And he's like, "I got you." And I'm packing, I'm packing, I'm packing. He's like, "Okay." He's like, "You're kind of making a mistake here. You're kind of packing a malfunction right here." I'm like, "Okay, okay, cool."
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Help me out." So we did it perfect. He's like, "Cool. It's perfect."
Yeah.
So we get up for the jump and um I'd really put a lot of work into packing and folding my ruck just perfect,
Mhm.
getting everything so I can fall as symmetrical as possible so I'm not what we call either potato chipping
Okay.
because of air the way the air bleeds off you
Yeah.
or falling at an angle, which sometimes happens
Mhm.
because you'll have air bleed in, and it just feels weird because you'll be falling down like through the air like this just to
Yeah.
stay stable. Um, but we did a twilight jump, which means it was it was clear day up where we were,
Yeah.
and the ground's all black because we were right at that perfect twilight where because the Earth isn't flat, it's definitely round.
What? What do you mean that
What?
the Earth's
No.
flat? What are you talking about?
Uh, where the sun's going down. So we can
Yeah.
still see the sun, but on the ground it's dark.
Yeah.
So we jump. I have the most beautiful drogue fall. And drogue
That.
for you guys is when we're jumping with equipment, we throw out a small 3 foot wide chute on a tether that's attached to the lower of our back. And that acts as an anchor in the air to not only slow you down because I'm an extra 150 to 200 pounds heavier, but it also assists in opening that chute when I deploy.
Yeah.
So beautiful drogue fall. Like I'm completely perfectly stable. There's no potato chipping. I am just enjoying the hell out of this as I am falling down, watching the sunset, watching my altimeter, and it gets into the dark and it comes time to deploy.
Mhm.
And I'm like, hell yeah. Great fall. It's the last jump of this exercise. We're about to get done with this thing. We're gonna go back to the hotels. We're gonna get drunk as hell. We're gonna have a
Hell
hell of
yeah.
an after party and celebrate getting the hell out of here.
Absolutely.
And I pull that golf ball, which releases the pin on the drogue to pull my chute.
Mhm.
And my chute pulls out, and immediately I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
It I all of a sudden I'm jerked and I start spinning.
Yeah.
So from what I could tell and what I know afterwards, I had a hung slider. So the slider stays hung; it doesn't let the chute fully open up, so you don't get a full uh, wing to fly under.
Yeah.
And one of the end cells was stuck shut, which makes it unbalanced.
Mhm.
So it's going to cause you to turn in one direction,
Yeah.
and it just makes it really, really rapid. So I'm on the end of essentially, I'm on the end of about 15 foot of paracord and around a central point, which is his wing, and I am spinning in circles, and that sucker is pointing me directly at the ground.
Yeah.
And that was at 5,500 feet.
Shit.
I'm spinning.
Yeah.
I'm spinning so hard, it's hard to get my arms up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at that point, everything starts rushing through my head.
Yeah.
I'm going, shit, I need to cut this away. Um, but I also knew at that time, I'm like, if I cut this away right now, the way it is, there's what we call an RSL, which is uh, it's a little pin device that when you pull your reserve, when you cut away your main, it pulls your reserve
Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
Well, my problem is as hard as I'm spinning, I'm afraid that when I do cut away, it's going to spin my reserve up.
Yeah.
Um, and that is causing me to like I'm already getting dizzy. I'm lightheaded, but I'm fighting it as best I can, and I'm like, dude, I do not want to cut this away. The other part of it is we had a guy on our unit who had been on his reserve like 3 different times during this whole exercise. It had gotten so bad that we'd made a moniker of the effect and called it basically by his last name. And I won't call it out, but like I did
Yeah.
not want to be that guy
Yeah.
to do the last jump because if we cut away a reserve, we got to go looking for it.
Yeah.
And that's going to ruin that after party. So
Yeah.
I'm fighting it. I'm fighting it. I'm fighting it. And then finally, I'm like, no, I looked at my altimeter. I remember 3,500 feet. And I'm like, I am 1,000 feet above cutaway
Yeah.
minimum. Like at 2,500 feet, if you don't have a good shoot, you cut it away, period.
Yeah.
So I decided to give it one last try. Hand up over hand, gripping that paracord, twisting it inside so you can actually pull it, pulling it into myself. I do it like 2 or 3 times to pull that paracord just into myself, hold it in my chest. And I don't know how I heard it. It sounded like a gunshot to me at that time. I felt that end cell pop open and catch air.
Yeah.
At that point, I threw all that paracord away from me because I know it's going to just make me spin the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And I still had that hung in slider or the hung slider. So I grab my risers, immediately pump down for full flare. That slider comes normally the slider comes down to like somewhere above your head
Yeah.
when you pump it. And I pumped it so hard it came down to like below my chin.
Yeah.
Snapped it. I'm securing it. I get everything up. I let everything go. I'm swinging in the air. It's dark as hell. I'm trying to get my strobe on. I turn my strobe on. I find the tee. I riser turn towards the tee, and I check my altimeter. It is 1,700 feet,
Yeah.
and I beat it.
Yeah.
But there's always punishment, you know.
Yeah.
I head towards the drop zone. I see the tee, and I know it's on a big airfield. Well, as I'm coming in, I can tell I'm getting low.
Mhm.
Watching my altimeter, and I'm like, okay, I'm in my final 100 feet, of descent, and it's time to get ready to start staging for landing.
Yeah.
So I release my equipment, and the equipment's on an 8 foot tether for free fall. On static line, you're kind of falling straight down. It's 25 foot tether, plenty of distance. You're flying this sucker straight between your legs with 8 foot distance. So I've got
Mhm.
a 150-pound ruck on 8 foot tether hanging between my legs, and I just start staging my flare to come in and land. And and you're supposed to like flare to land the equipment. Really hard to do in the dark. You
Yeah.
can't see
Yeah.
the ground.
Absolutely.
Um, so I feel the ruck tap. I feel it tap the ground.
Mhm.
So I start staging the flare even harder, getting ready to pump the flare real hard. And right as it happens, I feel the worst thing in the world happen to me. The ruck caught the edge of the tarmac because we're in the Philippines and everything
Oh
sucks.
boy. Yeah.
It caught in a
Oh.
little tiny gully, and caught under that cement and that asphalt, turned into an anchor, and swung me straight into the tarmac
Yeah.
like a pendulum. I hit the ground so damn hard, it bent the barrel of my rubber rifle.
Ah!
It like
Yeah.
my body
Oh.
smashed that sucker,
Yeah.
and immediately there's the gator driving up on me
Yeah.
with the light on, and they're like, "Yo, were you the one we were?" He's like, "Why did it take so long to turn on your strobe?" And I'm like, "I had a malfunction."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I think so." And then they just drove off.
Yeah.
Little do they know, I just got absolutely smashed into the ground,
Yeah.
and that's like the first part where I started getting. That's the first time I basically have induced nerve damage in my legs.
Oh boy.
I got up, I walked away from it, I got plastered drunk, and,
Yeah.
that's just the way that was. Um, Danny, if you'll indulge me for
Sure. Sure.
just, like, 3 minutes,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get up and grab a drink of water, and I'm gonna help
Absolutely.
Katie out real quick with, she's got an echo back problem, so I'm
Uh-oh.
gonna fix that real quick.
All right. Oh,
I
now
will
it's
be right back.
yeah, sure. Now I don't know. It's Vop story time. Uh, let's see. I don't know. I'll placate to you guys. Thank you for everybody for being here. I super appreciate it, yo. The kid named D. Thank you for resubbing. I appreciate it. This is going up on YouTube, so if you're watching on YouTube, go to twitch.tv/VOP Gaming, and you can check these out live. You can interact with the chat, and also quick plug if you're a veteran or you know a veteran who is interested in sharing their story, just like Eric currently is, just like I have, just like some other people who are in the chat have, and are future going to, reach out. It's everybody who is in the military. It's a very. No, I got something in my eye. It's a very selfless act, and no matter what you did, from recon, as we're hearing from now, to whatever admin, whatever job you did, it's important, and that's why we do the veteran spotlight. We can spotlight your military service, good and or bad, doesn't matter. If you had a good experience and or a bad experience, because it's an experience, none, it made you who you are today. So we'd love to hear the stories, and definitely like to give you, the kind of what you deserve. The thanks and and kind of memorializing the stories that are happening, adds there, for forever. So don't be too afraid, and also don't ever be like, yo, look, like I did whatever I did wasn't that important. I didn't do anything cool. Yeah, none of us do the shit that they say that you watch in Hollywood. It doesn't happen. If it happens, the Hollywood stuff is way overdone, and they do it for cinematic purposes. And that type of stuff only happens, you know, out of uh, out of the entire military. Like everything that happens, that's only like a percent of stuff that happens. Very small percent, 1 to 2%. So feel free to share some stories. We would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. That's my favorite part about doing VOP gaming, is sitting down and listening to people share their stories, because these are precious moments. So yeah, if you know a vet, or if you're a vet yourself, come on by. Send me a message here on Twitch. If you haven't joined the Discord, join it, and or send a message on YouTube. I'm not on YouTube as very often. I'm trying to get it growing, but so send out a message, and maybe sit down and talk just like Eric here. Welcome back.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
As always, little tiny tech problems. She
Yo.
had a dual microphone pickup causing an echo back in her ears.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, I
never
mean,
can win.
got to take care of your family. Family's important.
Yeah. So that was a great place to leave off on too, because that was pretty much wrapped up the end of my Okinawan deployment.
Okay. Now this is in. So when did this occur? You're
This
ending Okinawa in
So the injury occurred in October of 2012.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I do these.
I get it.
There's some fuzzy stuff in there.
I got a TBI. I understand. Don't do
So
it,
in
kids. TBI suck. Stands for traumatic
oh,
brain injury. Don't do it.
they're
It's not good.
horrible.
Yeah.
So so October 2012, I
Yeah.
get off the Mu and I rotate back and I'm standing by for PCS. And at that point, I've gotten orders to MSOIB at the time is the name of the unit.
Mm.
Marine Special Operations Intel Battalion.
Okay.
And everybody's losing their shit on the team because like there's some of the this is right about the time where all the recon guys were like, we should go to Marsoc because recon's dying. We should go to Marsoc. We should go to
Yeah.
Marsoc. And everybody's been talking about it, and all of a sudden like we're on the range doing some shooting and stuff, and they're like, Eric, what? Like, you got orders. I'm like, I didn't even talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And the dude's just like, yeah, we don't know to where. And then I got back and they're like, yeah, it looks like the 1MZ you're going to Marsoc. And I was like, what the hell? Don't you have to like interview with somebody to go to
Yeah.
these and they're like, nope, needs the Marine Corps, go. I'm like, who the hell is talking to people? Like, who's
Yeah.
making these decisions?
That's the
Like,
ultimate
I'm
get out of jail free is, needs a Marine Corps.
dude. And and that's the worst thing the whole time amongst all this training is when all those people are like, you wanted to be here, and I was that one guy was like, actually, I just got orders.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to be here. I just y'all picked me. You
Y'all
picked me
picked
to be
me.
here. Yeah.
Who's running this show?
Yeah, I didn't
Why are you
volunteer.
sending me?
I was voluntold to be here.
Exactly. Completely voluntold.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I left. I took a massive amount of leave. I took 43 days of leave in between.
Damn.
Went home for
You
Christmas.
took
Didn't
all
go
of your leave.
all of it, because I didn't know what the hell was about to occur,
Yeah.
and I was already injured. And I was trying to get over that injury. I ended up getting married
Hey.
to Katie December 31st,
Aw.
which I found out got me all my taxes back. So happy accident.
Yeah.
So I get into the new unit and I show up and we've got like 112 people on the books and there's like four people there. And I'm like, what's up with this? They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, everybody's gone and deployed or tasked. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, here we go.
Yeah.
And it just it immediately they made me immediately I was the battalion radio chief for a couple of weeks. They're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you're all we have. Um, s- it just was it was crazy for like the beginning of that year. I got a bunch of boots that came in from the
Yeah.
schoolhouse, and they were starting pipeline because you have the SOC Cs. So, for people that don't understand MARSOC and the way it works, in MARSOC you have CSOs, are your critical skills operators. These are your 0372s. These are your uh like your MARSOC equivalent of SEALs, right? So SEALs are special forces, MSOT A's, and all that stuff. These are they're the shooters.
Yeah.
Then you have enablers. So you've got SOCs, so Special Operations Capability Specialists, and they go like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. I think I is the last one,
Mhm.
but they all have different designations. You can look all these up. They exist right out there on the internet for you. But essentially, it's all the major combat specialties that exist. And as a SOC C, I am a Special Operations Capabilities Specialist Communications.
Yeah.
So we were starting all these kids straight out of comm school. Some of them were data guys, some of them were radio guys, and they were shoving them all into this pipeline where they've got to do special operations training course. so STC. They've got to do SEER, full spectrum,
Yeah.
level C, and
Nice.
they have to do a Marsoft level 100 course, which for us was MNOC or Marsoft Network Operators course. And they started, and they were going through, and I was just kind of like a mentor at first, coming from the fleet, being a reconnaissance radio operator,
Yeah.
but I was just a radio operator.
Yeah.
The guys are like, they're like, well, you're not a radio operator. I'm like, no, because the difference is there's our recon radio guys or radio recon guys, and I will never claim to be a reconnaissance guy because I never went to BRC.
Makes sense.
That is the don't it's that
Yeah.
is a huge no. Don't claim to be a recon guy
Yeah.
unless you've been to BRC. I never went to BRC. I'll never claim to be a recon guy.
You
I
worked.
simply got to go play with the recon dudes
Yeah.
and do recon things.
You worked with recon.
Yes.
You're not a recon guy. You worked with recon.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Which was it was just ironic because I originally wanted to go recon.
Yeah.
Got to play all the games, didn't have to put up with any of the BS.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I feel lucky.
Yeah.
But when I got there, did some basic stuff, helped out. They sent me to coach's course
Mhm.
because they're like, you got a lot of shooting experience, and I was already nursing that injury a little bit. Um, I ended up getting injured again.
Yeah.
And another jump. I did a sustainment jump trying to keep my pay, and
Yeah.
had I had twisted risers coming out of an osprey, and like heavily twisted. And by the time I got unspun, I hit the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so that was jump number two that I walked away from, but I ended up with back spasms, and I ended up on light duty for a while from that. And I still have permanent damage from that stuff because I never really got it addressed properly.
Yeah.
Went to
Pretty
coach,
rough.
yeah, went to coach's course. Um, Found out a lot of really silly stuff about coach's course.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So newsflash to everybody: to be a combat marksmanship coach in the Marine Corps, you only have to qualify as a sharpshooter with your rifle, which
Mm.
is there's three tiers. You got marksman, sharpshooter, expert, and that's going up. So you only have to make sharpshooter with rifle, and you just have to qual with the pistol,
Yeah.
which I thought was insane.
Hmm.
I was like, are you guys serious?" They're like, because I knew guys there that were like CSOs that were going through coach's course with me, just because it was something else that they were doing. Mainly, they were putting CSOs through coach's course
Hmm.
so they could run ranges overseas and get guys qualified while they're on deployment.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, but once those guys we started talking back and forth about like round counts and amount of like how much have you shot. It became very apparent to me that the fact that I had done 3 DA packages with force reconnaissance over in Okinawa,
Yeah.
that I had put more rounds through any of these weapon systems than most of these guys would do in a career.
Yeah.
And it was just like I was like, it just that's what it happened to be. And I was like, I've just shot a lot. I've
Yeah.
trained a lot of shooting. So I brought that over to them, and they actually ended up, due to needs of the unit, I was so we had like the Intel battalion, and then there was Combat Support Battalion,
Yeah.
which held all the non-Intel support guys.
Hmm.
And I ended up being CSB's coach for about 8 months straight, where all I did was coach range.
Hmm.
I would do range, grass week. Range, grass week. Range, grass week.
Yeah.
And like every once in a while I would get a grass week to like actually chill out and just completely slough off work. But the rest of the time I was on the Lejeune range,
Mm.
which is the only range in the Marine Corps where the coaches set up the targets.
Yeah.
And then I'm just basically running the show. Um, Helped a whole bunch of people save their careers.
Yeah.
As silly as people think it is. Like qualling in the Marine Corps, you and I both know this, it's not that hard. It really isn't, but it
Absolutely
is
not.
so easy.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to gaff it off and ruin your career over it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And maybe not ruin your career, but
Speed bump.
people are not going to look at you the same
Yeah.
when you're like, hey, and I mean, it even came up to where I found out certain things like if you've ever shot expert, you wear expert.
Hmm.
Like there was a big controversy for a while because somebody had to bring up the weapons training battalion had to bring up the documentation, said like, look, if you ever shoot expert, you wear expert. It doesn't matter if you botch it on your next range and shoot marksman, you don't downgrade that badge.
Yeah.
We're like, what? That's some bullshit.
It
Because
makes
we
sense.
knew a
Yeah.
bunch. I mean, how many times have you looked at a leadership board and you see a bunch of your leadership all rocking pizza boxes?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Pizza box. That's what the marksmanship badge looks like.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like at that time, I was rocking like fifth and sixth experts
Hmm.
on both badges, and it was just ridiculous what I was going through. And eventually, I was so tired of it. I was so tired of just being like the range coach,
Yeah.
that just the eternal range coach, because they're like, yeah, we're not gonna let you do anything, and I'm just like, they're like, well, you're on light duty. I'm like, I this is not helping. I'm not supposed to be coaching if I'm on light duty. I'm not supposed to be running these ranges if I'm on light duty.
Yeah.
I have back problems right now because I've been slammed into the ground twice, and I was just like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I went to the major in charge of communications. He was like my commander's commander, and that we were all really tight. And at that time, there was open door policy. Pretty much everybody in the office.
Yeah.
And I went straight to him, sat down with him. He was a fellow jumper, and that was kind of like the in
Yeah.
talking to that guy. And we're talking about. He's like, hey, were you on the last jump? And I was like, nah, I had to take this one off. The range interrupted me being able to do that. But I told him like, hey, I'm gonna go walk onto Sear. And he was like, really? Okay. And I'm like, I'm gonna I'll get you the paperwork. Because I'm gonna have to have you sign the paperwork for me to get on this here. Normally, they wanted like a school nom form and
Yeah.
everything else filled out, but I knew better at that time that I needed to have my my SEER physical done,
Hmm.
and I needed a nom form that only signature that it needed was his.
Yeah.
So I printed out the form. I went and got his signature. I tore up my light duty chit. I walked over to the clinic. I got him to sign off on my SEER physical.
Hmm.
And that Friday, I walked on to SEER because I knew they were starting a course.
Yeah.
I knew they always started the course with like 36 individuals. That's how many nominations they accepted.
Yeah.
But I knew they had room for up to 48,
Yeah.
and they always took walk-ons. So I walked in, turned in my stuff, boom, I'm in it. I got a call from my mass sergeant later that day. That was like, he's like, "Where the hell are you?" And I'm like, "I'm in SEER."
Yeah.
And he was like, "That the hell you are? There was no school nom form." And I'm like, I got a nom form. I got it signed." And he's like, "Well, what the hell are you tell me?" And I'm like, "You weren't around." And I cleared it with the major. I'm
Yeah.
like, I have to get into this pipeline if I ever want to be a SOC and deploy here.
Yeah.
I didn't come here to be range bitch.
Yeah.
And that was the start.
Yeah.
I went right through SEER. That SEER is, if you're in the military and you can get a nom to go to the MARSOC SEER course
Hmm.
over at Stone Bay, absolutely take it.
Yeah.
It is the most professionally coordinated and acted course that you'll ever go through. It's insane.
Yeah.
These guys, amazing. I had a fantastic time, and by fantastic, I mean like it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
I
Make sure.
lost 20. I lost 25 pounds
Yeah.
in 3 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah. Uh, it's not for, you know, if you have quit in your body, it's not for you. So yeah.
It's amazing to see what people become when the cards are on the table,
Absolutely.
when they're at their lowest.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
amazing to see. It's amazing to see people's breaking points. And a lot of people that went through with me had a new because at that time I was overweight. I was fighting the tape test. I was overweight because after I'd gotten injured, I was out on the Mew. I had been on a pro hormone and I had put on like 25 pounds of muscle in like 2 months working out on ship, and I
Yeah,
got injured, and it just all went to hell. I
yeah,
was overweight. I was fighting it. I was barely being able to run. Um, but the people that were in that course found a little bit a different kind of respect for me because they found that when everybody starts to deteriorate, like I have that certain point to where it's like I gain a little bit of clarity.
yeah.
And it's like, hey, here's what's actually important.
Mhm.
And I remember, I think our biggest, my biggest like turning point in there in SEER, because we did our evasion, because they train you to do your evasion. We did urban evasion. We did outdoor survival and evasion. And I think the biggest part that got me was one of the last days evading before we got captured.
Yeah.
Um, they grouped us all back together because they'd broken us up into like 4-man teams, and we were evading almost individually with these small teams, and they brought us all back together, getting prepared for pickup, game
Mhm.
to game. We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But I remember I was land naving the entire group because we had 12, and I'm land naving the entire group, and I called a halt. I knew kind of where we were, far enough off a road that we weren't going to immediately be compromised, and I knew we had a lot of time to move a short distance
Yeah.
to. And I was like, we got to milk this out, and everybody here needs rest.
Yeah.
So I'm immediately down. I'm putting people down. I'm like, look, these are going to be the two individuals. I had myself and another radio operator, a female, that's with me. She hard as nails, love her to death. It was me and her. I'm like, we're taking watch until one of us starts nodding off, and then we'll wake somebody else up. But everybody else down now.
Yeah.
And the major that was with us, there was a female major that was with us that was the OIC of the overarching class,
Mhm.
and she was broken.
Yeah.
Like when you have it in the person, and she's like, I came over to her. Her gloves are absolutely shredded
Yeah.
from the briars. She's nursing these really bad briar wounds. They just kind of pus up and
Yeah.
blister up. And I immediately was like, okay, got to get her gloves off. We got to get her fresh gloves, wrap these up. But she starts freaking out. And she's like, "Well, I got to plan to do this and none of it." And I had to take this woman by the shoulders and like shake her.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ma'am, you need to sleep."
Yeah.
I'm like, "You do." She's like, "Well, I got to lead." I'm like, "You can't lead anybody right now.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do it. You are beyond your ability to lead. You need to let somebody else right now take security, and you need to sleep."
Yeah.
And I swear to God, it wasn't even 45 seconds, and she was out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, and I mean, like hands just like flat down, just slumped
Yeah.
right behind her, just
Yeah. Yeah.
and I was just like, and I sat down next to the other radio operator with me, and we're sitting back to back with a rifle, or with a we didn't have a rifle, so we're just sitting back to back, but we're just like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I'm glad she went to sleep, because this is like, this sucks, but we got
Yeah.
time. And I remember we spent like 5 hours in that location,
Yeah.
just getting everybody else rested up before what we were about to go into. And that definitely saved a lot of people,
Yeah.
um, from what was about to happen, especially her,
Yeah.
because being the OIC, they beat her up the worst.
Absolutely.
um, got out of SEER in November of 2013, and I remember I got out of there, and I was 25 pounds down. I was like, man, I'm like looking good, but my body was just like, you're
Yeah.
trout.
Yeah. Beat the shit for sure.
I went through the next 4 months was the network operators course.
Yeah.
I learned I re-went through radios again, which is great. I made a bunch of friends with people who were not radio guys.
Yeah.
We were side by side with a bunch of CSOs and other communicators. Um, Met a bunch of data guys they're like, teach me radio. And I'm like, cool. They're like, what does it teach you data? I'm like, I was a Cisco major in
Yeah.
college. I kind of got it.
Yeah. Thanks, but no thanks.
I got it.
Yeah.
Made it through all that. Made it through STC, a special operations training course. Still dying. Still couldn't run, but I made it through the damn course. That's all that mattered.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And um, and then early, it was March 2015.
Yeah.
I deployed to AFRICOM, and instead of being at company level, because of my team time with reconnaissance,
Yeah.
they immediately stuck me down on a team.
That's what's
So
up. Yeah.
I was alone and unafraid and completely stranded
Yeah.
with an MSOT in the wonderful land of Morocco for 6 months.
That's yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. It was a good time. Um, I learned to appreciate the MSOTs that I was part of a lot more
Yeah.
than my previous treatment. Now I was a sergeant at the time, but the guys definitely appreciated my acumen when it came to communications a
Mhm.
lot more.
Yeah.
Uh, Even though they razzed me at times about it.
Yeah.
Um, I remember getting yelled at one day because they couldn't get the TV to connect to the receiver, and they were trying to watch the latest ripped episode of Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
and they're like yelling at me about this thing, and they're like, "Ah, fix it," and I'm like, "Dude, the AFN receiver is not my responsibility."
Mhm.
They're like, "It's plugged into the wall. It's your job."
Yeah.
Like, this is
uh,
bullshit. And then I got up and went over and jiggled the wire and it fixed it. And I walked out of the room. I was so pissed at these guys.
that's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I spent a lot of time building networks, dealing with every aspect of communications you could deal with, whether it be radios, our sat LAN systems, all that different stuff. That's really what I got into.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got back off that deployment, they were talking about spinning it up and doing it again.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, I need a break.
Yeah.
I need a small break because this is rough because they're severely undermanned over there. The
Yeah.
normally be like you're back 6 months, you're out 6 months, you're back 6 months, you're out 6 months. They just don't have the personnel, and
Yeah.
there's a lot undergoing to that is not going to change anytime soon. But the uh, my saving grace of all that was my good friend who I taught radio
Mhm.
was picking up rank, and they were making him the next chief of the next comm team. That
Oh,
was
nice.
gonna, and at that point we got split because we were originally like one big unit, but now we're supporting second and third
Yeah.
Marine Raider Battalion because they did do the name change while I was there,
Oh, wow.
so I'm technically a plank holder
Yeah.
of uh of third Marine Raider Battalion
Mhm.
and third Marine Raider Support Battalion.
Yeah.
All the funny, silly stuff where you get a piece of paper that means nothing, but
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool to someone.
Yeah. Somebody out there is enjoying it.
The He came to me one day, and I'm sitting there just like tooling around, getting ready, and he comes running up to me, and he's like, "Dude, you have to come over to second with me." And
Mhm.
I was getting attached to third like permanently. They were gonna keep me with AFRICOM and probably gonna put me back out to Morocco.
Yeah.
He came to me and he's like, "You got to come to second with me." And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because if you don't, we're gonna fail." I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Like, he's like, "Dude, they took me over to second, and they just made me the C4ST chief." So C4 being the comms, communications, all the your C4 ISR platform stuff. And he comes to me and goes, he's like, they made me the chief,
Mhm.
and everybody else on the team, the other 9 individuals, are all boots straight out of the schoolhouse.
Oh boy.
And he's like, that means I'm going to fail because I can't put any of them on a team. He's
Yeah.
like, I need to get you, and I'm going to try to get a couple of other people so I have seniority to push down to the teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's like, and then I'll just deal with whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, if you can make it happen, if you can get him to pull the strings to PCA me
Mhm.
over there, I'll do it. And the unit loved him. Unit hated me, loved him.
Yeah.
So they definitely went for it, and they pulled me over, and they said under one condition,
Yeah.
that we are going to run an Enoch course. So when you have terms of your soft enablers with MARSOC, there's basically 3 levels to every one of them. There's like the MARSOC training levels, like 100 series, 200 series, 300 series,
Yeah.
depending on how advanced that person goes.
Yeah.
And all of your SOCs have to go the 100 and 200 level classes. Like the CSOs, the shooters, they just go to the 100 level if they get cross trained in it. So we're all what we would refer to as ANOX, or the Advanced Network Operators course. And then we had Enoch, which is supposed to be enterprise, which is like big system equipment,
Mhm.
TACLAN, heavies, all of the big, running a talk for a SODIF and stuff like that, the big stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but we retooled the course to be an enhanced network operators course. And we did basically a roundtable of all the senior SOCs that were there, brought us all in. They said, what do you guys want to learn? And who's going to teach it? And I taught the advanced radio portion because I had the most experience with field expedient radio antennas and wave theory.
Yeah.
Still have that coursework around here somewhere.
Floating
It's
around
out
somewhere.
there.
Yeah.
Even I hurt my own brain coming up with the course, and
Yeah.
I purposely made it like ridiculously hard. I'm like, I'm gonna make sure, and then like I would read one of the slides, and I'm like, okay, and this is what this slide means, because even I am having trouble reading it because it's all super high level wave theory.
Yeah.
And then the culmination of my week, I just had them. I was like, here's a bunch of radios, and I'm not giving you any of the antennas. Here's a bunch of wire. Here's a bunch of and I gave them a bunch of scrap, and I was like, go make antennas and make shots.
Yeah.
And it worked. Great. It was a great course. And
Mhm.
then they taught us a bunch of other stuff. We got certified on a bunch of systems, and we went away from that. And I went out and deployed a second time. Was second out to CENTCOM. This time
Mhm.
I was supposed to be going to Iraq.
Mhm.
Um, I was supposed to go to Iraq, and I got pulled off the team because another guy came in and wanted to take that position, and they just bumped me. They're like, whatever, man. They're like, hey, we know you can survive without any support whatsoever.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to some place where you're not gonna get supported.
Yeah.
And they bumped me to Lebanon.
Oh boy. Mm.
Yep, they
I don't.
bumped me to Lebanon.
I don't know which one I
And
would rather go to. They both suck.
at least in Iraq, you get to shoot back at people.
I. That's not necessarily true.
Not necessarily true, but there's the opportunity.
Yeah. That's true. But that can lead to its own set of problems. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a different. Yeah,
Ah,
that's a different
it was
story. That's a different
it
podcast.
was it was torturous. It was
Yeah.
we went up north, we did some stuff up north, but that's really all we did. Yeah, that's a different podcast.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I spent a lot of time training local militaries. And
Yeah.
as much time as I spent in the house, and this is really where my military career kind of took me,
Mhm.
and what I did a lot of. When I was in the house, I was running the communications section.
Yeah.
Everything was up. There was always ways to call home.
Yeah.
Internet was always working. I always had the best uplink because I maintained it.
Yeah.
Um, guys used to get pissed. The guys used to get pissed at me. And they'd be like, "Eric, don't talk to Katie tonight. I'm like, he's like, why? And they're
Yeah.
like, because we're telling our wives, we're telling our girlfriends that the internet's out here, so you don't want to talk to them. And I'm like, come up with a better excuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told him all the time. I'm like, give better excuse.
Yeah.
I'm like, you could literally tell them that you're going up north to train, and I don't support communications up there, so it can be down.
Yeah.
But you can't tell your loved ones that communications doesn't work here because Katie knows
Yeah.
that if I'm not talking to her, shit's broke here.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And she knows that I'm awake and I am having an anxiety attack because I'm trying to fix things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
funny. Yeah.
but outside the house, I always usually turned into a troop trainer.
Yeah.
I would go run the range. It's just natural for me to be like, hey, I have enough time in a shoot house. I've done combat marksmanship or the coaching and everything, and just basically boiled down to that. And I was also humble enough to know that like I'm not going to turn a bunch of Moroccans. I'm not going to turn a bunch of Lebs
Yeah.
into the next SEAL Team 6. I'm purely here to
Yeah.
give them ammo to practice their skills.
Yeah.
And if they
Absolutely.
want my opinion, I will give it to them as gracefully as possible.
Yeah.
Because we had guys like CSOs that I had to kick them off the range.
Mhm.
They would come over like, oh, your SOPs suck, and I'm like, dude, you and me, you and me.
Yeah.
Yes, they suck,
Yeah.
but he ain't gonna fix that.
Yeah.
They ain't going to fight ISIS. We are. They
Yeah.
ain't gonna go fight ISIS. We are. They're here to try to look cool for their command, so they can get paid, and so they can go home and they don't care what they do.
Mhm.
It's not that serious.
Yeah. Yeah. I worked
And
in Iraq. I worked on some pit teams and MIT teams, and
mm,
we were training, Iraqi police, and it was the same kind of thing as like people were trying to like, to make these guys fucking like superstars and stuff. And it's like, look, man, like these guys, half of their houses that they live in are, like destroyed. And they're not out here to hunt anybody, or they're not doing our job. We're just trying to make it so they can have a little more experience and be a little more comfortable. And in case shit hits the fan, we can kind of like be like, he's not going to shoot us in the back. Like,
yeah,
it's basically we're out here for our peace of mind because these guys they're not coming with us on patrols. They're not out here doing, crazy shit. They're just standing on corners. They're doing their daily jobs, but we just want to make sure that they're at least proficient enough, that we know they're proficient enough so we don't get shot in the back.
yeah. That's all it boils down to.
Yeah,
It just comes down to
absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
I'm just here to train you to make a little bit better. And I
Yeah.
was the best. I was also the best person to put out on the range because when somebody tried to shit talk on me, I could usually put that shit down so fast it
Yeah.
wasn't even funny.
Yeah.
At that time, I mean, with my second team, they put us out there with Glocks. So I was rocking a Glock 19,
Yeah.
and Glock 19 is a piece of cake to shoot. It's
Yeah. Absolutely.
got a real nice point and click interface.
Pretty much. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I remember at one point they're talking about like I was dragging their guys back further and further from the steel. They wanted to
Yeah.
shoot steel. They
Yeah.
want to shoot steel. Cool. You want to shoot steel? Back up.
Yeah.
Back up. You're shooting ball at steel. Back the hell up.
Yeah.
And you're gonna shoot 9. You're not gonna shoot. You're not gonna shoot 5.56 at it.
Yeah.
So I've got them all backed up, and it's pow, 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 ding, pow, pow, pow,
Yeah.
pow, ding,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, they're like, it's too far away, and I'm like, really? And I unholster the Glock and like bang, 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 and then I
Yeah.
holster it again and
Yeah.
shot. And I'm like standing at like 25 yards, but it's a freaking huge piece of
Yeah.
steel.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
my buddy like would talk. I had one buddy who would talk shit on me all the time because I would do this, and I was like, dude, you should come out and shoot more often. Like we can learn from you. And I'm like, I hate shooting. I've done it so much.
Yeah.
We went out and I put us at I put us at 30 yards. We did and I wanted to. We were talking shit on each other, and I wanted to do a pasty drill.
Yeah.
So you know the pasty, the little 1x1 sticker, and I put 2 pasties up, and I was like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. And he's like, we're pretty far back, and I'm like, if I can hit that pasty with my first shot, we play from this range, and we're
Yeah.
just gonna go shot for shot, and whoever can eliminate their sticker first wins.
Yeah.
Right? It's just shit talking rights. And I zeroed that damn thing on my first shot. And the funniest thing is we stood out there for an hour and a half afterwards, and we could not get rid of those damn pasties. I nailed it on the first shot and
Yeah.
couldn't finish it, and
Yeah.
he just
That's
the
funny.
chat shit, dude.
Yeah.
But
That's
we'd
great.
always talk shit on each other about shooting. That was always fun. And then like one day, my ops chief was like, "Hey, we're gonna run a paper drill for
Mhm.
our pistol scores," and I wrote up on there. It was the new combat marksmanship course of fire, and I wrote up a 394 out of 400 score on my sheet.
Mhm.
And he was like, "You really think you could shoot that?"
Mhm.
And I'm like, "Yeah, have you been out on the range with me?" And it
Yeah.
was funny because then at that time my team chief, very senior master sergeant, very very famous amongst the CSO community,
Mhm.
peeked his head and he's like Geimer pistol, yeah, he'd kick your ass. I was like, yeah, somebody
Yeah.
actually backing me up for
There you go.
once.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I sucked at everything else though. I always made the joke that shit, runtime horrible, swim
Yeah.
times horrible, pull up number, my back was completely fucked at that point. Like I was borderline. See, I wasn't failing PT tests, but I was the reason, and I'll bash myself for this. This is
Mhm.
the reason. I'm the reason we found out that to make like SOC C or SOC A or SOC B or any of those to pass STC
Mhm.
and become a special operations capability specialist, you had to get a first class PFT.
Mhm.
But there was nothing in any of the paperwork that said you had to maintain it.
Yeah.
I was the reason they found that out because right before my last deployment, I ran a second class PFT. I was toast.
Yeah.
His body wasn't holding it together anymore,
I feel you, man.
and
Yeah.
I was like, what do we do now? And they're like, and I was like, I ran it early in the morning. It was horrible. It was like right at the end of the season. I was sick as hell.
Yeah.
Anxiety always killed me before PFTs.
Absolutely. Me too, man.
Anxiety, just sick. And
Yeah.
I ran it, about died. I almost failed the runtime. That
Yeah.
was like the one thing I was close to failing.
Yeah.
Is I ran like a 28:15 and a 28 or 28:30 was
Yeah.
the cutoff.
Yeah.
And I came in and I was like, "So what now? Like, are you guys gonna pull me off this deployment or whatever? Like, what's the deal that happened?" They're like, "No, well, we just actually found out that there's nothing that says you have to maintain that score, and all we're
Yeah.
gonna do is just write a note to the team you're going to that just be aware."
Can't run.
And that team saw that note and they were like, "What the hell?" And
Yeah.
then they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna get rid of you." And I was like, "All right, fine by me, get rid of me." And I'm like, "But that's your replacement." And I was pointing at some of the other guys that were on the C4ST with me, and they're like, "Ah, shit."
Yeah.
I'm like, "You can either deal with my senior uh capable ass,
Yeah.
or you that can't run or whatever, or you can deal with the kid who doesn't know how to do his job, but he
Yeah.
looks pretty."
Yeah. That was always my biggest issue because, like, PFTs, I ran a 20/30, did 100 sit ups. Like, if you don't do 100 crunches, you don't have no friends in the Marine Corps. Straight up, plain and
Nope.
simple. You don't have friends. You don't. Like, straight. Like, it doesn't
You know
matter.
that they recently figured out that they're actually talking about changing it because
Yeah.
they figured out that crunches put way too much stress
Yeah.
on your hip flexors
Yeah.
in the position that you're forced into.
Absolutely.
I'm like that's why it hurt all the time.
Yeah. It's just my biggest thing was doing pull. I had two broken collarbones, and I had a blown disc in my back. Like, I would get there, like I would fucking rock it. CFT, I had like a 280 something CFT. that shit's easy. But the collarbones, like, I've got long ass arms. I have really long arms. And so in order to like lock your elbows out and shit, and then pull up from there, like, with two broken collarbones, like, that shit's not easy. And most of the time, most of the time I would psych myself out first, because like beforehand, like before like I got my car accident and everything, like I was good to go. I've never had great like pull ups, 9, 10 on a good day, and then like after I got in my car accident and stuff like that, like I'm doing like 4, 5, maybe 5, and I'm like, people are giving me shit about it, and it's like, well, you try doing it like this. But I would psych myself out, like I would just be like, I'd have like a mini panic attack, like as I'm standing in line.
The fucking anxiety attack, man.
Absolutely.
It happened to all of us,
Absolutely.
dude. The
Yeah.
anxiety. Some people don't get like that idea of like, dude, I'm standing in line to do a physical fitness test, and my anxiety is so high,
Yeah.
I want to vomit.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'd be like I wouldn't be able to sleep the night before.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I got
absolutely.
PFT.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we got to be up at 04 for a fucking PFT. I'm like, great. I got to be up at 04, which you know what that means? It means I'm not sleeping tonight. I'm not going to be able to sleep. And you'd
Yeah.
fall asleep at like 2:30,
Yeah.
and
Those
you'd
are
wake up,
yeah.
and you're just like, I feel like death warmed over. I want to vomit. I'm going to slap. You slap on your clothes. You open that door. The hot, humid air slaps you in the face. You're like, and I hate my life. And I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, and especially too, like a lot of the times, especially while I was in, it was like, depending on how I do at this PFT, it means that if I'm gonna get promoted or not. And then I'm sitting here fucking worrying, so not proud of it and stuff. But I used to drink before I would go to PFTs.
Oh,
like,
dude, I don't blame you. I
like
don't blame you
my
at all.
and this always stuck with me. My senior drill instructor in boot camp said, if you don't, if you run a PFT and you cross that line after you run, if you don't throw up, you didn't give it hard enough. So that's what I would do. Like I wasn't too worried about running. I don't like running.
I did multiple times,
and
I would vomit after the run.
Yeah, and I would tell people too. I would tell people that, and then I would kind of use that as an excuse, so that way, because I would just drink so much that like the run wasn't a big deal, and by the time I got back, I was gonna throw up anyways, So
there was a guy in. I love telling this story because this man is nuts. I don't give out names, of course, in here because I know a lot of people who have moved up to do really
Sure.
big boy shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was definitely one of them. We're on the Schwab,
Okay.
Camp Schwab.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance to look at that section of the island, the outcropping.
Yeah.
The PFT course is out, down, around, up and down and up and up and up and up, and you climb all the way up to the top of the mountain, basically.
Yeah.
And then you reverse.
Yeah.
All the way back. It's horrible.
Yeah.
They always said, they're like, yeah, it adds 2 minutes onto everybody's time. Period.
Yeah.
Period. And they got me good too, because when I ran in 29 Palms, my only time I ran a 20:30.
Yeah.
Thin air works for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it comes to running, because I tend to overbreathe.
Yeah.
Then I got out to Oki and I ran out at Camp Hansen at one point, and my fastest was a 22:30, which I thought was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And when I ran on Schwab, I ran a 24, and I was like, that's good enough.
Yeah. All right, I'm good to go with that. Yeah. It's a pass.
That same time I ran that 24, he set the course record.
Mm-hmm.
For 3rd Reconnaissance Battalion, and I was so pissed. Everybody was pissed. Everybody was furious because they were trying to get it put down where they're like, look, this is a bad course.
Yeah.
You need a better course.
Yeah.
Motherfucker ran 14:30. 14:30 for 3 miles. No, he's a freak of nature. Like, plain and simple. There's a reason he's off doing the stuff he's doing.
Yeah, I had a corporal like that.
Freak.
He ran marathons for fun. That's what he did for fun. And it would be like, this motherfucker, it was cool as fuck too. He was him and I were McMap instructors. He was the head instructor, and we had a beef going between each other. Because he just had endurance for days. I mean, he would
Yeah.
run like 16 minutes. He would get back and then be like, I'm gonna go motivate people and fucking go run it again and be like run with people in the back and be like, yo, you got
What
this,
an
come on, come
awesome
on.
asshole.
And he would just go and go around and like we would go out to parties or we would go like to clubs and stuff like that. If we went to a party, he'd have a jug of water and he would like drink a beer and then he would just like drink water. Like I gotta stay hydrated. And then same thing, if we would go out to bars, he'd have a beer and then a cup of water in the other hand and he would just like double fist it. And
He's a monster.
absolutely straight beast. Him and I had I lost in McMap. I lost 4 times in my entire time. 3 of them were to that guy. The first time, well, it's because he had endurance for days, and
Yeah.
you know, the first time, he got me in like a guillotine. I was overconfident. I was undefeated my senior year in wrestling, till I broke my collarbone in wrestling. That's how I broke
Oof.
my collarbone the first time. Yeah, undefeated my senior year. Scholarships that just disappeared after I broke my collarbone.
Oh
And
man,
yeah,
you're
and then
killing me.
the uh, second time was dumb. I shot in for a rear naked, or I shot in on him. He just kind of like floated over me and got me in a rear naked, and I was like,
Oh.
I'm not tapping out. So I went to sleep. I went to sleep. I was like, I'm not tapping out. I did that once. Not gonna happen again. The third time,
Oh man.
the third time, we had to have been grappling for like 4 or 5 minutes. Like I'm feeling rubber at this point. Like, and he got me in a mount, and I'm trying to do whatever I can. He's just so. He's the guy who like reads the book, does it, and knows everything. Like it's like Bruce Lee. It just flows naturally for him, you know. Like I'm not a pushover, and I'm bigger than him too. And he mounts me, and I'm trying to buck him off. I'm trying to do all this shit that like we're taking it easy, but at this point, I'm like, yo, this is like I'm about ready to like we're about to fight type stuff. Like I'm trying to like break his grip and stuff, and I'm like legit hitting him as hard as I can to try to get him off. And this guy is a straight G. He has my blouse. He rolls it up to get like better grip, and puts his hands on my throat, and he just puts me to sleep.
Yep.
And I'm like, I wake up to this man cradling me. Like, are you okay? Like, I get up. I'm all woozy and stuff. I said, look.
This were boys.
I said, look. The next time we do this, we're throwing hands. We're gonna get some MMA gloves. If you want, we can get headpieces or the headgear. We can wear groin protectors. But look. If this was a real fight, I'd kick the shit out of you. Straight up. I've got a better stand-up game than you do. You're a better grappler than me. You've got more endurance, but you'll go to sleep. And luckily for him, I got in my car accident relatively after that point. But yeah. It one of those freak of natures that, like he just for his reenlistment ceremony, we went on a run.
Oh, one of those guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
Boots and Utes run.
Oh.
and then when we got back to the barracks, that was just part 1. Then it was like, all right, get your flak jackets, your sappy plates, get your pack. We're climbing up a hill. And that's what we ended up doing for his reenlistment ceremony.
Dude.
And I was just like, you're a beast, but fuck you.
Exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Nice, and he was
That's
he was a nice guy too. Like legit, like nothing against. Okay, so nothing against what I'm gonna say, but he's like a Mormon type guy.
Mhm.
Nothing against Mormons or anything, but like that overly nice and caring, like smile,
Exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
and he's just that type of guy. So like when I'm like, yo, go fuck yourself, I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Like like I feel bad because you're such a nice guy type thing. And yeah, so I know those type of people who are just freaks of nature when it comes to, well, everything.
Oh yeah, he was one of those guys. I dealt with quite a few of those guys in my time. That's just the nature of the beast when you start dealing with these special operations guys is you're
Yeah.
going to run into people who are absolute just freaks. I
Yeah.
think one of my favorite parts about my first team was there were so everybody likes to joke about scores and everything.
Yeah.
Scores are always everybody scores themselves on stuff, right?
Yeah.
But one of the funniest things we love to bust on people for is calling somebody a GT waiver. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, all the GT score was back then is just your ability to pick up something and learn it.
Yeah.
Your proclivity to actually
Mhm.
learn something.
Yeah.
And we had 3 of us on the team with GT scores over 140.
Jesus Christ.
And I know one of the guys he's still doing great stuff. The other guy, they're crazy, but
Yeah.
I met some super smart people. I met some absolute freaks of nature physically. I talk about a big map guy.
Yeah.
We had a kid on our in our comm section who moonlighted in MMA.
Yeah. That's
Like like
that's what I did too.
command did not know.
Yeah.
Or like try was soft command did not know that this guy was moonlighting in MMA until they decided to some of our junior senior leadership
Yeah.
decided to be like, oh, we're gonna do some PT and we're gonna run everybody down to the McMap pit and then we're gonna play King of the Pit. And me and the other dude who knew about this guy were like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You do not want to. And he came up straight and he's like, he's a green belt.
Yeah.
He's a green belt.
Mhm.
And we're like, oh yeah, I all of a sudden I'm like, I'm a green belt. There's a reason I don't have a brown or black belt because I don't do McMap. It's
Yeah.
just not my thing. I'm gonna die in a pile of hot brass.
Yeah.
It's gonna be my way to go.
Yeah.
Um, my dude next to me, he always joked that he's just gonna reload ammo for me until he runs out, and then he's gonna go fisticuffs on people.
Yeah.
This guy was a green belt,
Yeah.
and he was an asshole about it
Yeah.
because he refused to go test for his brown belt or his black belt because he didn't care.
Yeah.
And when they dragged us all down to that pit, and we're like, we're gonna play King of the Pit, and we're like, okay, and he kept saying, nope, not getting in, nope, not getting in, nope, not getting in. This went nonstop,
Yeah.
and eventually, like one of our staff sergeants was like, get the fuck in there, or you're gonna refuse to train us. He's like, fine.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
proceeded. He proceeded to tap every single one of us twice.
Yeah.
I like my second time in the pit with him. I just came in and it was like I was just like, just take my neck, dude. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tap. People are like, boo. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. Like, I've actually seen this guy fight.
Yeah.
He will, and like a couple of them like actually really tried to fight him, and he wrecked them up pretty damn hard.
Yeah.
The
I,
uh the the best training I ever did, physical training, was not actually the McMap. We had the SOC P program,
Mhm.
which we went through. I knew the guy who was running it. He set it up for MARSOC as a contractor, and we ran through it. And it was like McMap, but everything was focused around full kit
Mhm.
and how to conduct hand-to-hand combat in full kit.
Yeah.
And that got super interesting
Yeah.
because they did a couple of different practice stuff there to teach us a couple things, a couple of like confidence gainers. You know what a confidence gainer is.
Mhm.
One of my favorite confidence gainers was how much time do you have to draw a pistol and shoot at somebody if they charge you?
Yeah.
And we trained that with a pellet pistol,
Yeah.
and we trained it with a pellet pistol, and it was like you had your back turned and the guy behind you was going to charge you, and you had to be able to turn. And our deal was you have to turn and see him before you're allowed to try to draw your pistol. And he started at like
Mhm.
25 yards, 20 yards, 15 yards. And by the time you got to about 15 yards,
Yeah.
you weren't getting that pistol out, and you had to
Absolutely.
fight.
Yeah.
And we learned that like clear your area is the first thing you do. And
100%.
Yeah, it had nothing about trying to draw and shoot. It was about I'm gonna try to make you deflect you into whatever I can so that I can draw and shoot you.
Yeah.
And then just definitely learning how to roll with with full kit on. Like we strapped up um we got concrete filled mags to be the right size, weight, and
Yeah.
everything. Loaded up, strapped our kits up, had everything set up correct. We learned real quick that like our state, so we had the Cry Precision
Mhm.
um plate carriers and stuff that
Yeah.
our stock wears. We learned real quick that like our the steel stabilizers
Mhm.
that they have for your cummerbund and everything,
Yeah.
don't wear them at all. Just
Yeah.
you don't use them because they will get you killed.
Yeah.
Because you lose the flexibility to move with your equipment like that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the guys did a lot of practice with a small. We had the sock P dagger,
Mhm.
and they did just a lot of work with that. A lot of guys kept that dagger on them
Yeah.
through deployments and stuff, just as a just to be confident and stuff. But that there was just an amazing amount of training that came out of that course, and to us that was far more realistic than
Yeah.
yeah.
Mc, McMap is it's a basis. McMap is for like people like I don't know how to fight very well type stuff. And this could save your life type things, but a lot of it was like it, it it's the basics and then it advances, but it doesn't advance to like super realistic stuff
hmm
when it comes to it. And a lot of it I think is like I think McMap is very ego driven um when it comes to, the Marine Corps. Well, it comes period because like a lot of people like there's not a lot of things where you could legit take your aggression out on everybody or anybody in your unit except for
Yep.
McMap. And that's a
Yeah,
big
'cause you can't do bugle sticks anymore. You end up giving each other TBIs.
absolutely. And I feel like that's a big thing. Like when I came back from Iraq, when I was back with my unit, I started one of my sergeants was he did the coaching for uh he helped with the coaching for Tito Ortiz when he had the Ken Shamrock fights. uh 10 years 12 15 years ago at this point, something like that. Yeah, something like that. I don't remember, maybe it was like 12 years ago. And so he was one of my coaches. He's the one who got me into MMA. And when we would do McMap stuff, I was the same, very standoffish, and I had a gunny basically, kind of like try to call me out. And I was like, well, gunny, no thank you, type stuff. And then he tried to pull the Wama gunny. I was like, well, gunny, we don't have blouses on. No blouse, no rank, like and he just basically antagonized me so much that I was like, all right, well, how hard do you want to go, And he's like, 100%. I said, all
Oh,
right.
jeez.
It's like, Gunny, I don't recommend that, just for, and I said just for our safety, because I didn't want to be like for your safety.
Yeah.
And
Can't antagonize this guy any more than he's already doing himself.
absolutely. And he basically he tried to get me in um like a triangle choke. I just kind of messing around, kind of stroking his ego, and he was talking shit, and he had like a loose triangle choke, so I just picked him up and then just slammed him on the ground,
Mm.
and then I stood up, and he's kind of like trying to catch his breath, and I'm like, all right, well, we're done here. Who's next? Somebody help him out. Get a corpsman, you know?
Oh man,
Yeah,
that reminds me of a silly day in Oki. So I was out at that ISO, right? So
yeah,
we got our building that we were out there in Camp Hansen, and all
yeah,
the guys were doing McMap, and they were wrestling and beating the shit out of each other in the
yeah.
ISO, and I was
That, yeah,
staying out of it. But I had, and this is the kind of person I am, and the shenanigans that I get into.
yeah.
So they've been turning beating the shit out of each other, and I had found something out in the ISU that during like they went on leave. I didn't have leave to take, so I stayed around and cleaned up the area. I got rid of some rotten MREs, some old targetry, and I found
Ugh.
this big device. And I was like, "What the hell is this?" So I've got it in the back, and I'm playing around. And then I was cleaning out some of the little tiny ISU little box containers out back of the ISO, and I found like this power pack and stuff. I'm like, I think this all works and connects together. And so I've got it in our little laundry room, kind of set aside. We got our lockers and all of our stuff and our ISO, and they're all in the distant part of the building.
Yeah.
And they're like wrestling, beating the shit out of each other near the couches and everything. And I hooked this device all up together, and I figured out what the fuck it was.
Mhm.
And so I pointed it down the hallway,
Uh
and I blew up the siren on it.
Uh-oh.
I had found an LRAD
Oh, shit.
that was off the books. So an LRAD, for you people out there, is a long range acoustic device.
Yeah.
It's the same device that we used to play Metallica at Saddam's palace for 2 weeks straight.
Yeah.
It's also the same thing that we use to scream at people from ships, and it is the voice of God,
You could
because
yeah.
when it's so loud that you don't hear it with your ears. If you plug your ears, you will hear the sound reverberate off the inside of your skull to
Yeah.
your eardrum.
Yeah.
And I blipped him with a whoop, and instantly everybody at the other end of the building all froze, and
Yeah.
it immediately broke up everybody that was tumbling. They're
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck was that?" And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm like looking out behind it at it. I'm like, "It works."
Yeah. It's great.
We actually took that and used it on an exercise
Yeah.
to do. They're
That's
like, "We want you to do a tactical call out," and I was like, I'm
I
like,
got
Master,
this.
we had the LRAD in the back of the building that nobody knows about. So we ended up taking it out, hooking it up on a softback Humvee, and
Ugh.
coming out and like, get down, get on. Hey, hands where we can see him, get down. Like just yelling at him. And like the one kid like walked out in the middle of the road, and we started commanding him with the LRAD, and he immediately was like down, face down, hands over his ears,
Yeah.
like this thing is awesome.
Yeah.
And SOTG came out and was like, "What the hell is that?" We're like, "It's an LRAD." They're like, "Where did you get it?" We're like, "We don't know."
Yeah. It's we just found a bullhorn. That's all. Just a bull. It's a bullhorn.
It was a nuclear grade bullhorn.
Yeah. We just this bullhorn has been doing its push-ups.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because it was off all books.
Yeah.
There was no CMR that it was part of. They don't know where the hell it came from. And I'm just like, I just found it, and then I mean, it was in our equipment storage,
Yeah.
and then I just happened to find the control module for it out back.
Yeah.
And being the person that I am, I'm like, okay, square peg and square hole.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's dangerous. I'm like, no, we're actually still in the green area on the back here, and I haven't even used the key to unlock the actual
Yeah.
it had a limiter on it.
Yeah.
It had like a safe area on the dial, because
Yeah.
this one goes to 11.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it's all in safe area. But even we were like, that thing's loud as hell.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
great.
we ended up turning it into SOTG, and I don't know what they did with it, but that was a fantastic time of just me messing with equipment
Yeah.
and making it work.
Making it turn into something great.
Yeah. But
All right.
actually, I mean, that all led into my career
Yeah.
after the Corps.
Mhm.
So I I was coming back from my second deployment.
Yeah.
And like I said before my last deployment out there, I ran a horrible PFT,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm not doing too well. I need physical therapy.
Yeah.
I've got back injuries that got to be fixed. I put in two packages. I put in a package to um, HMX, the HMX squadron,
Mhm.
to go to the Presidential Helicopter Squadron to be a communications expert for them,
Yeah.
and I got barred for that.
Oh,
Forearm tattoo
dumb.
will bar you from presidential service.
Yeah. It's so dumb.
So even though it says I know nothing,
Yeah.
the other one I applied to go to JCU, the Joint Communications Unit, which
Yeah.
is the tier 1 support unit.
Mhm.
And I had two letters of recommendation from prior alumni, and I had already passed all the prerequisites for SOROC, which is their communications course.
Yeah.
And I was fully ready to go. I was like, "Hey, I need some physical therapy time, get my body straight, and get me orders to over there. And
Yeah.
I'll go do JCU for 3 years. I'll come back to MARSOC for another 5, and at that point, I will be at 17 years, and I don't care what I do after that."
Yeah.
And that would have been my career. I was like, allow me to go do that, go play with the big boy, the real big boys,
Yeah.
and do real communication stuff on on a world scale. And I'll come back here, take out a couple of communications teams here as a at a company level and be a leader, do a leadership position.
Mhm.
And my packages kept getting denied,
Yeah.
just denied, no reasoning, denied, denied, denied. And before that deployment, I called my monitor.
Mhm.
I went to my master guns in the office. I said, "Hey, who the hell is my monitor? And I need their contact information because I need to call them and ask them why they keep denying my package." And he's like, "Well, I could contact them." I'm like, I don't want to bother you with that. Like, just let me do it because I need a real answer.
Yeah.
And I get a hold of it, and it's a female master sergeant on the other end. And I'm like, "Hey, look, master sergeant, I've been applying. I understand that I'm denied for HMX1 because of forearm tattoo. I get it. Current administration, that's not going to fly. Cool. But I have all this stuff for JCU. I want to go to this unit. I have a deferred choice of duty station from when I reenlisted. When I reenlisted, I didn't get a bonus. When I enlisted, I didn't get a bonus. Reenlisted, didn't get a bonus. Didn't get any sort of thing. I stayed at the unit I was at, like I was told to. It came down to, hey, I have a choice of duty station. I want to use that and I want to go to JCU. If I fail,
Yeah.
I fail and then I can't, whatever. But give me the chance. And my response I got back set the tone for my last year in the Marine Corps. And it was, no, Sergeant. This year you're going to be in zone for staff. And when you pick up staff, you are going to 29 Palms to teach radio.
Needs of the Marine Corps.
And that was and that I, and right there I was like, well, that answers my other question. Because at that point, I pulled my school nom form for sergeant's course
Yeah.
because I was like, I'm already not going to pass this.
Yeah.
I'm not you go to sergeant's course and you're going to run a PFT, you're going to do a weigh in, you're going to do all this basic bullshit. And it's really just to get a PFT and a weigh in away from your unit where they protect you.
Yeah.
Because they protect you because they know what they need you to do and you know whether or not you're actually capable of your job.
Mhm.
Um, so I pulled that school nom form. I took my wife. I went to Disney for 2 weeks.
There you go. Hell yeah.
I was like, I'm going to keep my marriage together, so I'm not a statistic amongst MARSOC.
Yeah. Well,
And
military in general, not just MARSOC.
yeah,
Yeah.
MARSOC's really bad about
Yeah.
it. My purse tempo for my final year was 258 days away from
Yeah.
home. It
Yeah.
was rough, and I had all that going on, and I pulled that school nom form and went on vacation, and then I deployed. So
Yeah.
when I came back, I immediately got collared into the office by that master guns, and he's like, what the fuck?" So I found out he sat on the promotion board as the SOX advisor
Yeah.
for all the packages that came through. Because for somebody that comes through with a SOX qualification, he's got to be there going, "Hey, this is what this guy actually does. I know he's a radio operator. He's an
Yeah.
0621, but he's also an 80. He's also an 8071. He doesn't just do radio. He does everything across the spectrum and all this." That man was so pissed because he had my package come across his table. You know, I had green belt McMat. I was jumper, free faller, DA shooter, 3 times certified, expert rifle, expert pistol. Um, he's like we didn't even care about a second class PFT score. He's like we didn't even care about it.
Yeah.
He's like what stopped him was you didn't go to sergeant's course.
Mhm.
He's like they see. Oh, he's like I argued up and down that you couldn't do it because of operational tempo. He's like, why didn't you go to sergeant's course? And I told him straight out. I said, number one, I wanted to keep my marriage together. Number two, I was told that once I picked up staff, I would go teach radio, and I want nothing to do with that. And I'm getting out in 3 months.
Yeah.
And he was like, get out of my office. And that's what it came down to.
Yeah.
When they stop, they put a ton of money into you. The Marine Corps is going to put a ton, the military is going to put a ton of money and training into you. if they stop investing in you and that deal goes sour, you have to consider doing something else.
Yeah.
It's not because for everybody, it's like one of the best things I ever heard was a lieutenant colonel who was like, um, "Who here is getting out?" And there's like a bunch of us put our hands up, and he's like, "Well, that's the wrong answer." He's like, "Every one of you are getting out. You're all getting out at some point. You're not
Yeah.
going to be in here. Like the very few of you will be in here till you're dead."
Yeah.
A
Absolutely.
very somber moment, and he's like, "You guys all have to have a plan. You have to have viable skills." And I'll tell you what, I did one day without a job, and that's because I couldn't start on a Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I immediately got in. I reached out through the internal network. Some guys that I worked with knew I had experience on the systems I worked with, and I just basically got a tip that was like, "Hey, send your resume here," and they sent the resume, and they're like, sent it back, and they're like, "Hey, change this wording and this wording and this wording," and resubmitted it, and then I had a job offer, and I got
Nice.
in working for. Right now I work for CACI, which is khaki,
Mhm.
and they're a big defense contractor. They do a ton of different stuff,
Yeah.
and I won't get heavily into what I do, but my first job was basically being an FSR, so field service representative, supporting the Softly team. So
Yeah.
the communications equipment that the Softly team uses, I was the subject matter expert on it, and I
Oh, cool.
was for the past, not this past year, but the past 3 years before that, I was constantly on about 72 hours strip notice to be anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
To meet the ship, get on the ship, fix the equipment,
Yeah.
get off the ship, and get home.
Yeah.
And that kept me extremely busy
Absolutely.
and sometimes away from home for a month,
Jeez.
and it was a lot. I've recently changed to a different project, and I'm home a lot more. That's why you guys are seeing me stream a bit more.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
streaming really picked up once I was able to get home. Um, but yeah, at this point, the next step in our lives, and anybody that listens to our channel knows that I'm trying to move back to Ohio at some point. Got family up there, and
Nice.
it's all about, for me, it's about securing employment up there.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to downshift because I feel like I've been living pretty damn fast for way too many years.
Yeah. Quite a long time. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think my worst I ever did was 72 hours out. I got told Djibouti. So I bought the tickets to Djibouti, got everything scheduled, contacted the guy in country, was like, "Hey, I'm ready to jump." And they're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
24 hours later, "Hey, cancel Djibouti. It's Qatar now."
Wow.
Jump through all the hoops, get to Qatar,
Yeah.
jump to Qatar, got on the ship.
Yeah.
Shit's busted. Shit's busted beyond my ability to repair. I have to do a replace.
Yeah.
So I go to ground, make my way to Bahrain,
Mm.
get my replacement equipment, and then I was sit in Bahrain for 3 weeks waiting for the ship to come in,
Boy.
doing
Oh.
nothing.
Yeah. Bahrain sucks too. I've been there.
God, God does not see Bahrain.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Bahrain is like in the Lion King where they're like where there's like that. What about that dark area? That's Bahrain. That's what that is.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the Saudi oil princes that like to party and do all the normal things that normal people do that is not allowed in the UAE. On the
Yeah.
weekends, they jump in their Maseratis and their Lambos and they drive across the land bridge over to Bahrain
Yeah.
and they go party it the fuck up.
Yeah. It's you know, I wouldn't recommend it.
No, it's yeah.
Yeah.
My okay, so this is my favorite part about Bahrain is the fact that everybody gets to purchase the seafront property.
Mhm.
Everybody gets to purchase oceanfront property in Bahrain.
Mhm.
and right about the time they sell out on all your oceanfront property, they truck in a bunch of dirt in front of in front of your building, extend the the ground down another 300 or 400 feet,
Yeah.
and build a whole new section of high rises that are the new oceanfront property.
Yeah. It's I don't know.
It's
I know I you couldn't pay me to go back to Bahrain.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's miserable, and and it's expensive. Holy
Absolutely.
smokes!
It's like San Francisco. I used to live and work in San Francisco. It sounds nice until you get there, and then everything's expensive.
For me, that's like Tampa.
Yeah.
When I've gone down to Tampa for work, some of the stuff that's down there,
Yeah.
you get down there, and those guys have offered me like some of the companies down there have offered really big money
Yeah.
to go work in Tampa. I mean, we're talking upper 100s closing to 200 to
Yeah.
go work there, and
Yeah.
there's no way I'm accepting it.
Yeah.
Can you get me a parking spot? No, nope. Like, then no,
Yeah.
because you're talking about I could live 15 minutes from work and it's a 2-hour commute
Yeah. I lived in Oakland and
because
I worked in San
ugh,
Francisco, and it was yeah, like 36 miles to where I worked. I worked security at like a executive protection agency,
it's
and so like it would take me like 3 hours to get to work. And like, look, I can almost see where I work at. Like, it's
when
insane.
you spend as much time commuting as you do, and that was actually the really rough thing about these last like 3 years before this year. Because I was still living where I live now, but I was working in Fayetteville.
Yeah,
So I was commuting twice a week, 2 hours. So I would drive on Sundays, I would drive out all the way to Fayetteville, and I'd
mhm,
stay in a room there during the week. I had a roommate. Sometimes you'll see him on my channel, Looney on the Loose. He'll pop in.
yeah,
He started streaming before me, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, I could see how we could improve and do some stuff here, but I never really jumped into it
yeah,
until I got back.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that was miserable. Katie and I really only got weekends together, and I was away more than like if I was deployed. Like we constantly made that comparison was
yeah,
like you've been gone, I've been gone for 4 years,
yeah,
and we're just finally getting back to like learning how to live with each other. It's nuts.
yeah.
The
Absolutely.
big struggles.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there's got to be a point in time in your life where you have to. Money's great, but
Mhm.
the the memories and the stuff you make and the relationship you forge has to come into accountability, because sooner or later, when you're 60, 70, 80s year old, you're not going to be like, "Ah, I wish I would have made, like I wish I would have worked more. I wish I would have made more money." You're going to be like, I fucking missed X, Y, and Z. I wish I would have been around more. I wish I would have hugged my wife more. I wish I would have, like spent time doing more shit with my family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So good for you, man. Good for you.
I at this point, and all I want to do with my life, and that this is me trying to be as humble as possible. I
Yeah.
want to downshift. All I want to do, I want to go back to Ohio. I want to
Yeah.
live a little bit more simply.
Yeah.
I want to get back involved with the scouts.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to. I don't necessarily want to work with kids as much as I want to work with youth and try to just help them get an understanding of where they're going before they deal with like what I dealt with, where I felt like when I turned 18, like college was the only choice. College or the military, college or the military. And it was just like I had to do one of the two. And it's like there's
Yeah.
so much more. Like I wish it was more acceptable for people to be like, hey, just go get a job for a year.
Yeah. Find
Have it
out.
be okay to
Yeah.
be in a job for a year living with your parents
Yeah.
so that you can kind of get an idea what the real world is like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
But
it's insane.
yeah, you
Like
got to take
how
you have to take some time to figure out what you want to do when you're young, when you want to grow up.
Mhm.
And I think it gets pushed a lot of go to school, join the military. Those are like the two options. That's it, And sometimes neither of those options are for you. Sometimes you got to figure out like, oh, I should go to trade school. I
yeah.
should maybe I'm good at maybe I'm a good car salesman. Like you got to figure out what you're good at, and sometimes that doesn't happen until you're 19, 20 in your mid 20s.
I've got a friend from school. I've got a friend from school, somebody I know I've kind of kept track with.
Yeah.
Uh, and I know this guy because he was very, very popular in school. Um, State champion wrestler, all that sort of stuff. Went and got and if he ever sees us, he's gonna know I'm talking about him because he went and got involved in the WWE.
Yeah.
Um, spiraled out of that because of some stuff.
Yeah.
And now the man is the best damn insurance salesman that I know.
Yeah.
He's driving a new Corvette like every other week, and I'm like, what
Yeah.
the hell is he doing? He's selling insurance. I'm
That's
like,
awesome. Yeah.
gosh.
There's quite a bit
Holy
of
shit.
uh I, I grew up watching wrestling and stuff like that, and so there's quite a few tons of wrestlers who end up doing stuff like that. They get on TV and then it just doesn't work out for whatever reason, and then now they sell whatever, and using their semi fame for to sell whatever. And a lot of times they're good at it because you have to be semi charismatic to be on TV or perform in front of 10,000 people.
As far as I can tell, it's actually him using his extreme charisma and also like group sales tactics.
Yeah.
Like like running the sales team. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that makes sense. Like I never really put that together. I
Yeah.
haven't talked to him much recently, but I used to talk to him quite a bit. Or I would just hit him up because I'd be like, I was interested because I was like, dude, like what happened with that? You shifted into this, and it's crazy. I've seen so many people that I thought were going to be like super hyper successful and it end up being like car salesmen. And then I have like people who are like, dude, there's a girl I knew in like middle and high school who was like always quiet. She's a good student, never really did anything, never really did anything crazy.
Yeah.
And then she became an animator for Pixar. Pixar. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, oh yeah, I had a couple of Google animations like for the daily Google animations. I had a couple of those. Those were mine. And I was like, holy shit,
Yo, that's
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. Nice. So
Oh man,
so when did you finally so when you got out, like what year are we talking here?
2017, October 20th.
October 20th, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And then so since then you've been doing that. Now you're trying to slow it down and kind of be more of well, like around, more like a family man type stuff.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
your current
I
goals
I
are.
want to yeah I want to slow down. I want to quit. As stupid as it sounds, I want to quit traveling so much. I
Makes
travel
sense.
a ton,
Yeah.
and people on my channel know that I'm constantly on the road.
Yeah.
They'll see that my streams like every once in a while my streams drop out. Katie takes the lead. And that's one of the big advantages I have
Yeah.
on my channel with having Katie there is she can take over when I'm not there,
Yeah.
and I moderate remotely. I'm able to log into the rig and keep everything running for her,
Yeah.
and I have her run her stuff, and I come back and everybody jumps back in and they have a good old Geimer game. We got a pretty good balance of
Yeah.
people. We got a bunch of really great people
Yeah.
that are involved with our channel, and I love them all. And it's been a really interesting experience just
Yeah.
starting as a streamer and doing things. I've learned myself to like not let anything get to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we were just kind of half involved with that hate raid you got the other week.
Yeah.
I
Those
like
things
they
are so
hit you
dumb.
guys, and then they
Yeah.
hit us, and they
Yeah.
were bad. That was bad, but like we were prepped for it. We managed to run it to the ground and stomp it out.
Yeah.
But I'm learning so much good. it's been so much fun to engage with like the community people out there, and I'm really going forward. I want to work more with like local youth. I want to get back to some of my old like loves. I used to go camping with the scouts once a week or once a month.
It's awesome.
Once a month out of the year, the local scout troop we were in would do you're away for a weekend. Like you would
Yeah.
like Friday evening, the whole scout troop would pack the trucks, drive out to wherever the campground was, and we would camp 2 nights and pack up Sunday morning and drive back.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I used to. I was a Boy Scout back in the day. I mean,
What
they were
what
called
troop?
boys. They
What
were
troop are you
called
repping?
Boy Scouts back in the day. That's how long ago.
Same. Well, what
Yeah.
troop are you repping out of where?
Uh, I don't even. It was three. And from an undisclosed location.
Okay. Troop 402.
Yeah.
I was an Eagle Scout out of Troop 402.
Yeah. I got super involved in like I taught shooting when I was at scout camp. You know, I did all that. I never got as far as doing the Eagle Scout. Because then I found girls and
I managed to
scouts kind
squeak
of
out
went away.
Eagle. I managed to squeak out Eagle at last minute. I got my Eagle Scout project finalized and
Yeah.
approved 3 days before my birthday,
Yo, there you
before
go.
my 18th.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even totally decided, everything done yet. It was just that stuff had to be finalized
Right.
before that
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah.
I got my Eagle Scout after my
Yeah.
18th birthday,
That's great.
but I managed to get that. That's how I made PSC
Nice. Nice.
coming out of boot camp.
Yeah. I had college. I had enough college credits. So, well, I would have got it either way because I was
Same.
the guide of the honor platoon. So I would have
I,
got it one way or another. Uh, but yeah. If you want to find out more of that, check out my spotlight that I did
the
the last
guide of
the
the
last
honor
one.
platoon.
Yeah. I almost made honor guide, but uh, yeah. Anyways, that's in my story. This is not focusing on my story. So all right. So well, now we're gonna go with. I always ask the question: what's your best go-to moment when you were in the military where you think about it and you just like put a smile on your face, you laugh about it? It kind of is that like this is my favorite military. This is my favorite moment.
Hmm. That is a really good question. Because
Yeah,
of course I've got like 7 years to get through.
yeah.
7.5. I like to be fair about it. Um, damn. That's a good question.
Yeah,
A good military moment.
that's why I ask it.
I actually think it would be when I pass that first shooting package.
Okay, okay.
Actually, the tattoo I have on this arm here
Yeah.
is a phoenix,
Hmm.
and I got it as a symbol of like rebirth under fire.
Oh, that's sick.
That's the ideology behind it. Was
Yeah.
I got it done in Okinawa,
Mhm.
rebirth under fire, because God, if that first shooting package wasn't absolute hell, and I was the only like new guy to survive it.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
guys got dropped, and it was me. I made it. I passed the shooting. I made it to the house. I didn't kill anybody. I didn't shoot anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I managed to be qualified.
Yeah. Yeah. You made it through. Yeah. That's awesome.
So, so that's definitely one of my big ones. I mean, you hit it several times. Of course, receiving your EGA is always
Yeah.
there's
So,
nothing like that. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
100%. I cried on the
they
parade deck.
they ain't- they ain't nothing like that.
Yeah. I I
Um,
I cried on the parade deck, and my senior almost started crying. So
yeah, yeah. I lost it. I was crying.
yeah.
I was crying. We had just picked up the dude next to me because he had passed out.
Yeah.
I mean, just exhaust. He was exhausted. Like we're all dead on our feet.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Well, I had to go to boot camp twice.
cause
So
ooh,
yeah. And my senior drill instructor, the first time I went to boot camp was my kill hat. So it was like he was my drill instructor twice. You know,
Oh,
I did everything basically twice. I did the crucible twice. So
damn.
yeah, so like I cried. He like kind of shed a tear, and he's like he looked at me, and he's like stop, and I was like yes sir. I had my hat in here, and I just kind of like I put it on, I like wiped the tears away, and we went on with the rest of the ceremony.
He mine was the same senior
Yeah,
who'd had that conversation with me.
yeah.
And I was pretty steel faced until he came up and he said, come a long way since that first time in my office. And I just, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, sir. He's like,
Yeah.
you definitely earned this. I was like, damn, dude. Damn.
Yeah.
Had to hit me with that heavy shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely.
my my father got to actually pin my jump wings on me at Fort Benning. That was really cool.
It's awesome.
That was kind of in lieu of my grandfather because my grandfather would have had to come all the way down from Canada, and he's
Yeah.
also disillusioned with the U.S. government. So, but he was the paratrooper, like generations
Yeah.
before him. He was a paratrooper. His father was a paratrooper. So it was kind of like family tradition,
Yeah.
but it's also Army.
Mhm.
I'm the first Marine,
Smart.
but somehow ended up still a paratrooper.
Yeah. Yeah. Start a
And then
new trend.
definitely the day getting out of SEER.
Mhm.
Actually, that's an experience,
Yeah.
and I can even describe it for people, and it doesn't. There's a point in there where you make your final escape,
Mhm.
and as you roll up, they light up the side of a van, and it's got a U.S. flag on it.
Mhm.
And I don't care who the hell you are.
Yeah.
After what you've just been through and you see that shit, you want to fucking wail. You're like, my God, it's so emotional.
Yeah.
Just like oh, dude, because
Yeah. It's like a
it's like a damn Broadway production when they do that entire course. It's incredible.
yeah.
It's the psychology they put behind it, everything, amazing.
Yeah.
Um, my first jump, my first free fall jump, the first times doing a lot of that different stuff was like just it's incredible.
Yeah.
Kind of just like what in the world did I just go through? Like
Yeah.
definitely like the first jump, you're getting ready to run for the door. And I remember looking at the TAC Ps that were with me, and we're all kind of like, wow, we got this shit, this ain't shit. And we all stand up and we're like, what the fuck are we doing with our lives?
Yeah.
Run the door.
How did I get to this point?
Yeah. I suddenly realized I made a mistake.
Yeah.
um
Absolutely.
like free fall jumps. I've loved every time I've made a free fall jump.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is the most incredible experience. It is the most perfect freedom.
Yeah.
Um, for every time that I was lucky enough to get to jump slick with no equipment,
Yeah.
it's the best experience in the world.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just some of the stuff that you do in your Marine Corps career is just like in your military career is just like it's absolutely it's like best job I ever had.
Hands down.
I
Hands down. Absolutely.
remember 2013 September 15th was my birthday.
Mhm.
And we were doing a long distance raid.
Mhm.
Um not 13, sorry, 2012. 2012 September 15th, long distance raid. I had just gotten finned for my birthday.
Mm.
The recon guys had this you understand what a finning is?
Uh, well, there's the guy I used to do this with. His father was a SEAL, uh, so I'm assuming it's the same kind of same. Uh, what am I trying to say? The same. I'm like it's fairly the same.
Yeah, it's the same, probably same hazing.
Yeah.
But So in the reconnaissance community, OPSEC. OPSEC's everything, right? Operational security. Well, if anybody figures out when your birthday is, and if anybody can remember when your birthday is, they get to fin you.
Mhm.
And a finning is when they take out the turbojet fins, the big, thick, heavy dive fins
Mhm.
that they have, and you get to lay prone on the floor, and everybody goes around, everybody takes a turn hitting you in the ass with the fin. And you get one hit for every year that you are old. And you don't think it's gonna be that bad. And
It is.
it's
Yeah.
that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why they have you lay prone on the floor. That's so you can't jump.
Yeah.
I was black and blue. Like we got on the plane, flew. I mean, I bruised as hell.
Mhm.
And we flew on the plane in the jump seats of the C-130. I could barely sit. I was hurting so bad.
Yeah.
And then we flew in, landed on the tarmac, immediately got on a Black Hawk, and flew into our hit site to go do a DA raid. Just training hit.
Yeah.
But I remember at one point, basically like sitting on my back, like I'm rolled over on top of my pack with my radio and everything. I've got my M4, I'm like NVGs on everything, and I remember looking out the window, just looking up at the full moon
Yeah.
as we're cruising, just all I can see are like some chem lights and little lights from the helicopter. We're completely blacked out. And I remember just hearing that thrum in my ears and just looking up at the moon and going, well, this is probably the craziest birthday I've ever had.
Yeah. Yeah.
I woke up this morning, went through some of the worst pain in my life, and now after a horrible flight, we're out here doing this. And oh, I've got a picture. I got a picture of that somewhere. I'll send it to you. I'll DM it to you because
Hell yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
that's not meant for the light of day on Discord. It's got to be,
Absolutely. Yeah.
but you'll get to see where I'm black and blue from mid
Ugh.
back down to mid thigh.
Eesh. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Nice.
Made it through the whole hit, and it was funny because I was like, they're like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, this shit hurt earlier, but whatever." And then like we're all undressing because you're so sweaty and covered in sweat. You're like, you got to get this stuff off you; it'll burn you. And so
Yeah.
we're all stripping down in the barracks to clean up, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Dude, you are not looking good."
Yeah.
I took a shot at me, and I'm like, "Holy crap, I am
Oh boy.
bruised."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so what else you got for me? That's a good question because there's a ton
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
There's a
Well,
ton of great points.
yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that you don't necessarily think about it until you think about it, you know.
Yeah.
That's I mean, for the most part that's I mean pretty much it. Like I think we can turn it over into some Q&A stuff if anybody has any questions or anything, you know.
Yeah, we can see if
Um
there's anybody on here who's gonna throw some Q&A at us. But
yeah, absolutely. Uh
other than that, I mean, you got any other you got any questions in the meantime? I mean, I'm an open book pretty much.
uh
Um,
oh, sorry. I mean, pretty much I just asked them as we go along. We went into pretty much most of the stuff I would have like directed towards type stuff.
mhm.
So there's nothing I could think of. You know what? It'll be like a half an hour from now, and I'll be like, "Fuck, I should ask that question." uh, but I mean, for the most part, I think you kind of touched on shit. I mean, everything that I would have thought to ask.
It's
Uh,
it was an interesting career.
yeah, absolutely. Sounds like you had a great time. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody has any question. I mean, nobody's asked anything. It's usually how it gets towards the end of the stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah. So, of course, you know, we'll do the you know plug your stuff. You know, um, you've got your Twitch, you've got your Twitter. You said you were talking about YouTube earlier.
Yeah,
With that as well.
we're working on it. It's
Yeah.
the links up on the page.
Yeah.
It's I only got like one or two uploads right now. I've
Sure.
got to
Sure.
start working stuff. Especially one of my biggest problems we've had recently is Katie doing Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
because the soundtrack's getting
Yeah. It gets flagged.
ganked.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, come on.
But yeah, all that stuff's going to be in the link or in the description down below. I'll have all the links to your guys's all your social medias um, and stuff like that. But yeah, nobody has any questions, so I think we kind of touch base on everything. So I kind of want to, thank you for coming out and sharing your story. What a what a crazy amount of stuff you've been through, and I'm sure you didn't get through everything. I'm sure there was stuff in there that like you'll be like a day or two from now, you're like, oh, this story was great, type stuff.
Oh, I've got stories for days, but it's not about like what's important, Like I
Yeah,
could tell stories about people, they're not my stories, you
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Well, that's what
Like
it's all about. It's about learning about what you did and your
I mean, multiple. How many times in your career did you get that phone call
yeah,
where you're like, "Hey, something just happened, man."
yeah, yeah, absolutely,
And
yeah,
I mean, one time I got a call that was like my dude's like one of my best friends in the world calls me up and he's like, "Hey, dude, it's not come out yet. We got hit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
everybody's okay, but some bad shit happened, and it's gonna come out later, but just know that like we're okay. We're
yeah,
okay." And
yeah.
I'm
Funny.
okay. And I'm like, "Jeez." And then I got a phone call the other time that was like, "Hey, this person got shot." And I was just like,
Yeah,
"How?" They're in the talk.
yeah,
And they're like, "Yep."
yeah.
And then they told me who it was and I was just like, or they told me who shot them and I was just like,
Makes sense. Yeah,
I'm like, "Why are you telling me this?" And they're like, well, her boyfriend's at your location, isn't he?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" It was funny as shit because I like literally ran down the hall to the dude, and I was like, "Dude, she's been shot." And he's like, "I know, dude." And we're like, "Wait a minute, did you know that he knew ahead of time?" I'm like, "No." They're like, "That's fucked up, dude." They gave me the first person to tell him, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to like." I
yeah,
would appreciate somebody tell me as soon as I knew.
yeah.
There was a desk pop. It was really bad at a desk pop, and got it through and through.
Ooh.
Oh man.
Mm,
Somehow took the person off the deployment and they were holding his rank
hmm.
and it all just kind of fell through.
Yeah,
They didn't action it. They say they didn't action that for 6 months. Um, but I definitely think one of the most messed up things I saw in my entire career was I watched a good friend of mine. He self-reported.
yeah,
So when you have a clearance,
yeah.
you're supposed to report bad stuff happening.
Sure.
He self-reported on a form that he had done something, and the command fried him for it. They're
Yeah,
not supposed to have access to that paperwork.
yeah,
It's not that, yeah, and that's still up in arms, really bad, because they held his clearance for 6 months, so he couldn't do his job.
yeah,
He literally sat in a warehouse for like actually almost a year, not allowed to do his job because he self-reported. It's
yeah,
not like he actually did something and got recruited or disclosed something. He was just saying, "Hey,
yeah.
this did happen." And I feel like it really set us back as a community because all of a sudden it's like, well, now nobody's going to self-report.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a big issue with commands and stuff. Is like you want to do the right thing. They always tell you do the right thing, and I mean it's one of the leadership traits, you know, and it's always it's integrity. You do the right thing even when nobody's watching, and it's like when they tell you to do this so much and it's ingrained in you, and then you do it, and then you fucking pay for it. It's like what the fuck? Like I'm not telling you shit. Uh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
rough.
like you do the right thing and you watch somebody do the right thing and then you see them get run the fuck over by the train
Yeah,
and you're just like, well, now you just set us back 30 years in terms of like
yeah,
doing the right thing because now nobody's
absolutely.
going to do it because they do not trust you, don't trust you to do the right thing.
Yeah,
When I get a guy that comes to you and says, I have problems in my marriage, I have X, Y, and Z going on, um, I need help.
yeah,
And you guys go, oh, you're going on an exercise. And he gets back and he gets a DUI, and you're just like, well, why were you drinking? He's like, well, he's like, I was only he's like, I drank and drove because I was drinking at home like I normally would. And my wife chased me out, and he had to drive somewhere.
yeah.
We actually had a guy. This is one that killed me. We had a guy get busted for DUI. because he got assaulted at a bar and he drove away
Yeah.
rather than rather than deal with the fight. And he'd been assaulted. There was a police report.
Yeah.
It came down to where the guys pulled a weapon on him, and chose to drove away rather than face an open conflict with several armed individuals.
Yeah.
And he got pulled over, explained to the cops, and the cops were like, "You're fine, drop the case." Marine Corps still hit him because
Yeah.
double jeopardy.
Yeah. Marine Corps doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. That's another. That's another. That's another podcast for another
Double
time.
jeopardy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, anybody out there? I mean, we got a couple more people. We got a couple more people in here. Anybody got any questions? Anybody? Nobody? Oh,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Usually the Q&A part is very very lackluster.
Yeah.
So whatever. But anyways, well, I do appreciate you being here, and coming by. I know, Katie's doing her thing right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, like I said, like all of your links and socials and everything, I'll get those from you, and I'll put them in the description. This will be on YouTube in probably, I don't know, about a week. I try to leave it on Twitch for a little while and then port it over to YouTube.
I definitely won't watch it because if I watch it, I'll be like, "Oh my god, I sound awful. That's awful. I
Yeah.
can't believe I said that shit."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be on there to share. So forever till the robots take over.
Yes.
But
Beep boop. I'm one of the first ones the robots will kill.
I mean,
I'm the quickest to unplug them.
yeah. So, but yeah, I do appreciate it. And then again, anybody watching this, go check out their channel. It's a lot of fun. It's a good time. Husband and wife duo. They're pretty awesome. So go check them out. Everything will be down in the description below. And yeah, so I super appreciate you being here. It's been a fun time, and yeah,
Absolutely.
I think I think we've kind of touched all the bases on everything. So
Well, thanks for putting up with me.
it's been a good time. It's been a good time for sure. So yeah, with that being said and everything, I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting. I also want to thank all the people who are watching this on YouTube in the future. Hello, future people. And yeah, so we appreciate it. Next, I'm not entirely sure when the next one's going to be or who's going to be on it, but that's future me problem. That's not current me problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you guys so much. And we're just gonna do the damn thing. So, but thank you very much for coming out. Remember who you are, and we'll see you in the next one.